Welcome, audio listeners. You already know the deal. As we start the stream, we have to get the tweets out and welcome everybody back. We had a 2-week break. We missed last week. Obviously, there were a few reasons for that, but CDL being one of them. Mainly me, though. I got into a freaking car accident, but I'm all good. Hear me tag you guys in the tweet. I was actually in New York for a show. Did I tell you guys the story of this or what?
The Florida show.
Yeah, I was in the New York for a show for the In the Know Bowl, which was actually pretty sweet. It was only the second show I've done since COVID, and they had a full-on set. Work with people I've never worked with before, but it was in Brooklyn, only my second time in New York. And the show was cool, man. We had like athletes and stuff. But anyways, I get there, get in a car with Jay. I'm like, I'm tired, man. I got to get some Starbucks. We go there. I grab a coffee. On the way back, chick drives in front of us. Damn. But we did the show the next day, dude. And
that's actually nuts. Most important thing is that you guys are all right, both you and Jay. Sounded awful from the stories you guys were telling. The explosion sound and whatever it was.
You know, like it's funny because I realized I'm hearing myself twice. Okay, we're good. It's funny because I realized like we were tweeting and stuff after. So it might have like seemed like it wasn't insane, but dude, it was an insane collision, bro. I'm just glad we're all good though. Like we're just young, we're good. So the medic was like, dude, you guys are lucky. I was like, shit, thankfully. But anyways, yo, welcome to the show, everybody. Audio listeners, appreciate you guys tuning in. Once again, this podcast is fueled by XP Sports, wonderful company, and let's check out the where you guys can find some XP and learn a little bit more about it. What's up, everyone? The Codcast is fueled by XP Sports. XP Sports has created gaming supplements focused on giving you what you want. Their products deliver more than just energy and come in unique formats, including pre-game powder, ready-to-drink cans, and even gummies, guys. I love them. The ready-to-drink can delivers 0 sugar, 0 calories, and 0 lag. The XP Sports Boost Energy Drink is delicious and can help you get through any long gaming session. The formula in the Boost Energy Drink includes a scientifically studied ingredient that supports mental energy, performance, and improved reaction time. It also provides another ingredient that supports normal, healthy eye function. If you're more of a gummy person, try the gummies. They provide an ingredient that supports mental clarity and another to support normal, healthy eye function as well. We all know how important that can be. Make sure you have these bad boys in your gaming arsenal. I use them every day, guys. I mean, come on, talk about multiple birds with one stone. Take your game to the next level with XP Sports. You can purchase XP Sports on their website, xpsports.com, on amazon.com, or at your local Walmart. Use code CODCAST at checkout for a 30% discount. Yeah, that's right. I said 30%. That's xpsports.com. Take your game to the next level. All right, there we go. Well, I think that's enough of me talking. Make sure you guys check them out. But what up, John? And what up, Ben, our producer?
Hello.
How you guys doing?
How you guys doing, man? Life's pretty good. What about you?
I'm chilling, bro. Ben, how's Esports Engine?
Busy as always, but I will say, I could use some sunshine these days. And I don't know about you, but it's been snowing like every day in Columbus this week.
Dude, I woke up today and it snowed again last night. I didn't even know it was going to snow, and then it was still snowing. And I had to go to the store today, and the freaking roads were just, at least like surrounding me, were terrible in Grandview. I don't know if it's the same for you over there because you're in like an arena area. Yeah. But they just like didn't clean the roads. I think everybody's just giving up. All the people driving the trucks just giving up, bro.
Would it shock you that it snowed about an hour ago?
Wait, it snowed an hour ago?
Yeah. I looked outside and there was snow on the ground. And it was like
dude. What about the Texas stuff going on? Have you guys seen the tweets and stuff from these guys?
Yeah.
Bro, it's actually nuts what's happening in Texas. I wonder how bad the snow is in comparison in Texas and how much of it is just them not being ready to deal with it at all.
Dude,
yeah, I feel like...
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they don't get snow like this in Texas. But hey, climate change, right? They're getting smoked.
They're getting smoked, dude. Like the thing is I know they had like one super bad storm where they got like a foot of snow, right? And then what was it? So what's today? Today is
Or the
Thursday.
18th,
So I
yeah.
think when did it happen? It snowed on Monday, right? Where they got
going
the
this whole
storm.
week, yeah.
So they got the storm on Monday, and then everybody's power's out like Monday night or like middle of the night Monday, and then it was out Tuesday and Wednesday, right? And I think people are starting to get power back, or am I wrong about that? I thought I saw a few
It's
tweets.
starting to get better, I think.
I heard it was some people, right? Some people in certain spots, even people like across the street from you would have power, but you wouldn't. I guess it's power grids work. I'm not an expert in that. I have no idea. But I mean, sheesh. Clearly
Yeah.
push back Call of Duty.
I'm sure
Yeah.
there's going to be some people in trouble that at least control, like, not the players. I'm talking about like people that control power within the city that like not being prepared, because you're supposed to be prepared for this sort of thing, at least in some capacity. Because a lot of people are like really affected by this. Like there's people dying, bro. I saw some houses that were collapsing in because of like bursting pipes. Dude, that is a nightmare. So prayers and thoughts out to everybody over there, for real.
Yeah.
I think go ahead.
No, just like have you seen the videos of people having to put just like buckets all over their house because their homes can't contain, I guess, the water, the melting ice that's all everywhere.
Sheesh, dude.
It's just tough. Their homes aren't built for it. Nothing's built for it. It's
Yeah.
like, yo.
Dude,
That's tough.
what did I see? Sib, his freaking, was that Sib's apartment or Mac's apartment?
Sib and Mac, I think, live together, right?
Oh my god, dude, what happened to their place? Dude, that was what I was thinking about. Was like, dude, if my office room collapsed in and my setup got torched, I'd be screwed. Like, what do you do? Like, all your files that are on your computer. I know, like, you have homeowners insurance and renters insurance, but it's gonna take a while to get that stuff replaced, you know. And then also, like, renters insurance only covers up to like a certain amount, so depending on how elaborate of a, you know, coverage you have, you might just be screwed. So I don't.
Would that cover your lost items? Like say your PC right there that's on our screen. Would that cover that? Because I know these things are expensive. Like, look how beautiful that thing is.
I specifically, when I just did when I did renter's insurance for my current apartment, in case I got, you know, robbed or something happened here, yeah. I took out a bigger policy for this, like my office in general. So it was like your options are like, it's like $8,000 standard for like a home office. So I was like, I just increased it to like 20 or something like that. But yeah, no, that's wild, bro. I hope their equipment is good, but their shit was leaking. So
move to Texas, they said. It's cheaper, they said.
But anyways, you know, they'll all be back up and running soon. The Super Week was announced, so that'll be awesome. And we're bringing Ben on today, guys, because he's our producer. He's been part of the show for a while. He's a great guy. Been around in Call of Duty for a long time, dating back to, when did you begin? Like AW?
I started really being around AW. I worked for Optic Intel at the time. I was also modding Clay's chat, and that was my come up. After that, I got in with FaZe, and then it went from there.
Yeah, so you've been a coach. You've moved on. Like a lot of people that come onto the, you know, Codcast and ask questions, they're like trying to figure out how to get into esports and stuff. They ask me and John, but it's like we were like pro players, so we weren't the, you know, the origin story that a lot of people are going for, but you kind of are. So that'd be cool if we have some call-ins later on today and they can ask you about your story and stuff. But the main chunk of this episode is we're going to be talking about week 1 of the Call of Duty League, how it went, our thoughts, give some, you know, our hottest take from the week and so forth. But, you know, I'll open the floor up to you, John, to kick things off with, you know, just overarching week thoughts on the week.
Overall, I want to say, I think that there's a lot more parity than even I thought there would be across the league, right? So it switches to 4v4. My first thought is, okay, even the bottom teams will be stronger than they were. But when I actually sat and watched all the matches, it was like, these guys are, like, I don't know who you consider the worst team. They're not that bad. Like, who are, at least not right now, until, like, all the emotions set in and all the losses start piling up. Even the worst team, which I guess you could say is, Paris. People were saying Surge before they went in, but they won a match. Like, even the worst team is not that bad. Not really.
No, for real.
There's like so much parity across the league. All these teams are super good. I mean, we're early too. We're early, so you can't really give like crazy overarching thoughts yet. But seeing that there are no really bad teams is one interesting for me, because all I do now is watch the matches. Like, I don't have to cast them or analyze them or anything. So now it makes it a lot more interesting to watch the matches in general. And it's just going to be a really good season, I think. I mean, I'm not really sure. Usually, I can always see the scene. Like I knew last year immediately what was going to happen. Like who's gonna
be the good teams.
who is going to be the good team? Not even the good teams. We have a good feeling about who the good teams are going to be, but who's going to be the bad teams? Who are the weak players that are going to get weeded out? And I don't know who that is at this point. Like already at all. Even after the losses, even after the teams that took multiple losses.
No, fair enough. Ben.
Well, I agree with John on the parity, and I actually saw an interesting stat on maybe sort of how that might shake out. It was from Round 11 Stats that of the 4 Game 5s that went, of the 4 games that went to Game 5 this week, the winner in those series, 4 of them won both S&Ds in this series. So yeah, it seems like there's a lot of parity, but as is always said on the desks and by a lot of talent, that like S&D wins chips. Like it seems like amongst those elite teams, there have been good search teams early, and they made their mark in those series.
Yeah, I think
that.
Go ahead, John. I was just gonna say, I think I'll continue. I always try to give you the floor, but I just wanted to say this real quick. I think like with the way you beat like an Empire or an Optic or one of those super top teams is just by winning both searches and stealing a respawn, right? And you're seeing some of the teams that are maybe know that they don't have the most skilled individual talent in the world to be able to dominate respawns. Like they're focusing a little bit more on search and destroy. And it's like showing, right? Like we saw a lot of like Rocker, for example. We expect them to be a great respawn team, but clearly they've put in the time and effort into being fantastic at search and destroy. And it showed so far throughout this game. And like that's where you can get that's where you can get an edge on some of those super teams, right? So maybe it's just a product of teams realizing like that is where we can get the biggest edge in the league right now, and let's take advantage of it. And it worked out for Rocker, at least in week 1. The first match wasn't too great, but the second one was damn good. But yeah, that is an interesting stat, But
I think so. I look at it a little bit differently, right? So I'll take Optic for example. What I saw was good things from Optic. Them beating they lost both S&Es badly, right, to FaZe.
Yeah.
But I think that over time those will start to average out. Like they're gonna learn what they want to do in search. They're gonna learn each other's tendencies. They're not gonna just be a bad search team. Like that was really bad.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of strength in the respawn from them. So even though they lost the match, I'm like, for the future of this season, for the future of Optic in particular, I was like, this bodes pretty well for them, in my opinion. They're not just gonna go into every series and get blown out like this by FaZe. But the fact that they were able to take FaZe in 2 respawns, I was like, okay. They looked a lot stronger than I thought they did. It's like when I look at Optic now in this game, I'm like, this is one of the top. Even though they lost, they're like a top 3 team guaranteed in my eyes.
Yeah, but I also feel like I would rather be, dominant at search and destroy and figure out respawn if I have the talented players on my team, because like you scrim hard points so much. It's so difficult to get like great search practice. So I don't know. I thought that was actually a pretty scary thing, seeing Optic be that bad at search after having talked to, Envoy and heard them saying like how much that they were going to work on their search and stuff. Like seeing them lose like that, I thought was like pretty concerning, because as the season goes on, increasingly we're going to see more game 5s as teams learn how to play the game better and better, right? And they get more even across the board. So I thought that was pretty scary, especially in like high pressure situations. If they start off the season losing their search and destroys, when it gets later in the season and they're at a major and they're in a game 5, everything on the line, if that confidence isn't there, like they're gonna fall. So I don't know, I thought it was actually more concerning than you made it out to seem. But yeah, Ben, do you have any takes on that?
I mean, my thing, and I talked about it when I was on with Zoom on the weekend, which like, I agree with John's take. I think it'll average out over the end. The only thing I think I'd like to see more from Optic is just a deeper playbook. It's early. You're going to see a lot of 6-0, 6-1s because people are still learning the maps, learning how to play it in a real match where the pacing's a little bit different. But just when you play a team like in Atlanta or you play a team like Dallas that's going to have a deep playbook, have a lot of set plays, have a lot of looks, and be able to adjust mid-map, you need to have a deep set of strategies or tactics or the ability to call on the fly. And I think that's probably something Chicago probably needs to work a little bit on. But I would not be surprised if they master it. They're going to need to if they want to be competitive against, even a team like LA Thieves at the moment.
Well, how long did it take last year for Optic to really start playing well in Search and Destroy? Because I remember they were bad at the beginning of the season. Then they had a tournament where they did well at it because Scump basically was frying in most of their searches. And they were asked for majority. And towards the end of the year, like champs, they got good at it again. So I thought that it was really concerning. I mean, for their sake and, Optic's fan base segment. Hopefully they figure out their search and destroy, so we see some close game 5s. But just how FaZe looked in search, how Rocker looked in search, and how good we know Empire will, like, Empire, in my opinion, without question, will figure out their search. If you like looking at their team and where those players have come from and how good they were at S&D last year, they without question will be good at search. Optic is another story, right? So that could be where they fall short to those other teams. You know what I mean? But we'll see.
I mean, they just have to put themselves in a position to be able to clutch up. So let's take LA Thieves, for example, in that match against the Subliners. They were giving away rounds. I feel like LA Thieves played that S&D a lot better than the overall score lines. They were just giving away man advantage rounds over and over and over. But all that matters is they were in a position to actually clutch up and win the rounds. That's what Optic did in the first match against Paris? It was Paris, right? Yeah, so they played Paris. Yeah. Paris was outplaying them at first, but then Optic got in positions where all they had to do was put themselves in position to clutch. They won the clutches. They won the map. Once they figure that out, I don't think that it's that big an issue. Like, you think it's a lot scarier than I do, but even in the past, let's say through the Optic Dynasty years with Formal and Seth, they weren't the greatest search team, but they put themselves in position enough to win enough searches where their respawn carried them to win tournaments.
Oh yeah, different era in COD though, with a different level of teams that they were going up against. They definitely had like a huge edge on like all the teams, but like for example, we don't have a big sample size to go off of, guys. So these are essentially all these takes are going to be, you know, hot takes, but we're just going off week 1. What I saw in that match, especially against Atlanta, was they were getting picked apart in search and destroy. There were multiple times where Optic would go out, they would actually execute like a first blood, first kill, and then they would get traded, and then the other player would be a couple seconds too late and then get killed, and then the playing field would either be level or they would be at a disadvantage. And that was just because FaZe knew what they were doing. They were always together. They were moving them around the map as a unit. They were trading out effectively. Like Abizi was walking up the map, getting bloods on them. Like it just looked like they were unprepared in search and destroy. But hey, we'll see going forward.
We saw last year that like, and it's so far carried this year. It's like when you play a team like Atlanta, you need to put yourself in 2v1, 3v1 situations, because if you end up in 1v1s, their ability to play make and S&D is going to shine through. And I think that just came down in Chicago. Yeah, you're going to start a couple of rounds 4v3, but FaZe is either able to claw back and make it a 3v3 and then squeeze that down, or they were able to play make. There was a stat I saw from this week that's something like 10 of 23 S&D rounds that FaZe played this week ended up in a 1v1, and they won 8 of those 10. Like,
that's wild.
If you're converting at that rate, like, you know, you're going to be stellar in S&D. And also it looks like they've carried over that insane game 5 winning percentage they had last year.
That is what, like, and that's what looks good about FaZe to me, is like, just they're always like that super team that is also so good at S&D at the same time, you know? So I don't know. I don't even know who looks the best from week 1 out of like the top teams. It's like almost level. It's like every team had their like weak point outside of, you know, I guess FaZe, but FaZe didn't look that great in respawn against Optic. So I mean, every team had their weak point, and every team their strength showed as well. So I think everybody sort of got exposed a little bit.
With the exception of what, maybe LA Thieves, right?
Yeah.
They won 3-1 and 3-0. They didn't play one of the.
They just
I feel
didn't
like they had a pretty
play.
decent schedule, but they didn't play one. They didn't play basically Optic, Atlanta, or Dallas, right?
Yeah, and that New York series too, like
it was close.
One of the weirdest 3-0s I've ever seen, because I think they could have won all 3 of those maps. But man, Thieves look good. I mean, you guys talked about it on an earlier show that like their key to success this year is, what are you gonna get out of Donnie, Temp, and what are you gonna get out of TJ? And so far, from what we've seen, they've been fantastic. Kenny had a fantastic week. If they keep up that flame, they're going to be very competitive and potentially win a bunch of majors this year.
What I saw, I'm just going to talk about individual map, was what was it, versus Rocker, was it Moscow, where they just bodied them,
destroyed them.
They destroyed them, like, and that was super impressive to me. For one, I know Rocker hasn't looked like the best hardpoint team, but just LA Thieves understanding hardpoint to the level of where they are consistently breaking spawns, holding and preventing them from getting close to the hill. Like, that just proves how good of a, you know, team that they can be in the future. Like, this game is different in the last couple of games, and the fact of that, like, you can consistently 100-point club a team, or like beat them by like 100 points, right? Depending on the map, obviously Crossroads might be a little bit more difficult, but like, that's just because this game is not as forgiving as other games. So I think like as teams get better, we'll see more disparity in like hardpoint like that, dominating wins, etc. And that Thieves really impressed me when they did that there, because I was expecting them to have like close maps, close hardpoints, clutch up. TJ or Kenny have like a big game, but to like dominate like that just proves like they know exactly what to do, where to fill in the gaps and where to go on the map. So it was like super impressive.
Yeah, I saw a stat again. Week 1 stats is like a super small sample size. They're winning about half their rotations, and they're holding it about in the low 90%. So like you play that way,
92,
and you're getting your 30s, and you're constantly flipping and then winning the rotation. Like you're playing ahead of the ball there. They're set, and gives them a chance against a pack of really strong slaying teams in that like top 4 category. And I think even this year, like, man, like your 6th or 8 teams, even your 9th and 10th teams, like they're gonna take respawns off of you depending on the situation and the map. You're talking about teams like Florida, New York, Minnesota. We'll get to Toronto in a minute, but I would put them in that category too. Like definitely promising start out of LA Thieves, and excited to kind of see them play the rest of the group, especially Dallas, and see how they stack up.
Yeah.
When you say 6 through 8 teams, I'm wondering who's your like cutoff? What is your 8th team?
Bro,
like
it's so hard.
At the bottom of the mid pack, I guess you'd say, right?
It's so hard. The team I'm not really sure where to put is New York, because I don't think they played that terrible this week.
I don't either.
But I just don't know. Like, I don't know how to rate how Florida played this week. Like,
but New
Toronto
York
came out and
they could also be that team that just plays up to their competition, like that middle of the pack team that plays up to their comp but always loses. Because there's always those teams. I've been on those teams in the past where like
it's frustrating.
It's really frustrating. Like you have good players and you know what to do on the map and you play up to your competition, but you just get closed out. So obviously, like you say, it's too early to call that, but like that's the vibes that I got from that Subliner Steve's match. Was like they got 3-0'd. Every map was super close. They played up to their competition and they choked in the final moments of all 3 maps. But like, for example, the Moscow hardpoint that the Subliners played against the Thieves should have absolutely won that map. It came down to one moment, if you guys remember, on Statue Hill or Fountain, whatever you call it, and they all they had to do was rotate to bus and push out bank. Instead, they decided to push through gold. And like, I know that every player on that team knows that you have to go around and go through bank there and set up and just give up that time and set up for new, but they made that decision anyway. So that to me, it was like them crumbling under pressure, which I assume that they'll get better at with Clay as their captain. But like, that could have changed the whole course of that series. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts, is like they played up to their competition and got crushed. I have no idea if they're any good or not.
Yeah, I think Florida's in that bucket. I mean, they looked great against Atlanta and during Kickoff Classic. Didn't look too good this week. Curious where they look. Toronto obviously played really well this week, but they have a tough week this week, so we have to see where they stack up. Minnesota, we talked about earlier, like the 0-4 and hardpoint 3-0 in S&D. Like, how do you reconcile that where they fit? And then there are a bunch of other teams outside of that conversation. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like teams like a London or LA Gorillas, like not really sure how this bottom part of the mid pack and like 11 through 12 really like stack up. It's super tight at the moment.
I think it's just going to be like up and down like crazy. Sorry, John. Like a freaking like volatile. Like literally, because London on maps 3 and 4, their series were Surge. Alex and Dylan look like the best players in the world, and then they end up losing. It's weird.
It's got to be something about Alex's playstyle. I'm just gonna say that because every time that he's winning, he always looks like that. I swear, it's been like that since World War II days. Whenever their team's going off, he just looks unbelievable. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then they lose, right? And you left Surge out of your thing, so you said Surge is an 11-12 team, but did they play like an 11-12 team? Really? They got smoked by Dallas, which everyone was kind of expecting. But then they came out and played really hot. Like they did what they had to do to beat
Royal Ravens.
To beat London, right?
Yeah.
But
I agree with you. Like I don't really know. There's so many of these teams. It's just we don't have a small sample size, but truly with the parity right now, just have no idea how they stack up in the sum total. We probably have a pretty clear understanding. I think that top 4, at least right now, seems pretty cemented.
Is it though? Because Ultra could be in there. I mean, from what we saw to them, they looked unbelievable. We have to know how good certain teams are. Like for example, when Surge got smoked by Empire, you could easily just be like, oh, Empire smoked them, whatever. And then they beat Royal Ravens, like, oh, Surge isn't as bad as we thought they were. And then Empire lose to Rocker, and it's like, oh shit, is Surge ass? Empire lost to Rocker, so maybe Empire isn't extremely down. So it's like ever changing. Every single match changes your opinion on where teams stand. So I just more so try to judge based on what I saw actually in game, and the team that outside of the super teams that I was most excited about, and I talked to you guys before the show, was Ultra. I thought that they really knew what the hell they were doing, especially in Hardpoint. Like, they look so good to me. Their rotations, the way that the way they play that Garrison Hardpoint was just absolutely flawless. Cammy Kleenex were doing exactly what they needed to do. And there was a moment in the map where they're up like 60, 70 points, and Zinni was like barely doing anything on the map, which is exactly what he was doing, exactly what he had to do. Like, I just thought everybody was playing their role perfectly. That wasn't even a diss at Zinni, because he had some great maps.
It just sounded funny. No.
He had some great maps at kickoff, and at this, I feel like everybody on their team knows their role and they know what they need to do, and their communication was on point. They knew where they needed to be. So to me, they had them, like, for where they're supposed to be at, they had the most impressive match. And that still all depends on where Mutineers are at, which is up in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sky is going to have a series like, I mean, we've seen it struggle the last 2 years. He doesn't have a series like that quite often. So I think they'll regress back to the middle. But again, it's just so tight. It's so hard to see how they fall in that conversation. Also, the weird thing now is with the parity is like, and the fact that you only have 5 games in your group, we might see some crazy tiebreakers determining maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 spots in some of these groups.
Well, let's look at it like this. So who have Thieves beat? They've beaten Rocker, and they beat New York, right? So, whatever. 2, Subliner's not that good. Good wins, but like Rocker's not the best Hardpoint team. And then you move on. Thieves play Surge, and they also play Royal Ravens, and then Empire. So realistically, like, Thieves are probably, they are going to play, Empire already lost, so Thieves potentially like first in their group, So if it'll come down to that match probably, which is like, strength of schedule is another thing to talk about. And depending on who people have to play, some teams have some crazy schedules. Let me see who
like
was
remaining schedules. Yeah. I think I saw Paris' schedule. I looked at it for some reason. I'm like, phew. They had to play, if I'm correct, they had to play Florida, Toronto, and Atlanta. I'm like,
let me go see Florida. Yeah, and they've already played Optic, and then they played Gorillas.
LAG,
they lost that one.
I'm like, jeez.
And that's why for that match, I was saying, me and a neighbor were talking about it on the stream. We were like, it sounds weird to say, but this is like almost a must-win match for these teams, because depending on how the major number 1 goes, every team's reevaluating at the end of major number 1. Like, okay, if we're gonna make a change, you probably need to make it now, or what we're gonna do, right? So like for those teams, that could be potentially like their only dub going forward. And Legion lost that match, so that was like super concerning for them after how impressive they were at kickoff. Yeah, let's talk about those 2 teams for a bit. Start with Legion. What do you think was going wrong for these guys week 1, John?
Well, so I feel like when I look at that roster, they have to win. They got to win the search, right? They needed to win that search against Optic. You got to close out that search against. You got to win that search against Gorillas. Like, if you win your searches, you're in some of these series a little bit more. They're not going to be a dominant respawn team. They're just with the talent in this league. They're just not. They got to figure out a way to really. I've seen Yuli dominate search like for a season. I've seen it happen. He's an amazing search player. They need to figure out how to get the best search practice possible, so they can win, because they're just never going to be a top respawn team. And they did throw that control against Optic. They didn't play like, they're not that bad. And if you were to ask me who's the bottom of the league, the 11-12, I'd put them in it. But in my head, that does not mean that they're terrible. Like last year's 11-12, like last year's Surge, they were terrible.
Yeah.
Like last year's Paris, terrible. I don't feel like this year's Paris is terrible. I just feel like there's a lot to work on, and I wish for their sake they got to play Gorillas later on in their run, so they had more time to work on stuff, as opposed to right now where I'm looking at their future schedule. Like, even if they got to really play well to even find 1 dub with their remaining schedule, because the other teams are just that strong, in my opinion.
They lost both S&Ds to Gorillas, right? Or did they? Yeah, they did. They lost both. So they lost both S&Ds to Gorillas. And like, they could have won that series too. Like, they could have won all the respawns. If you remember, like map 1 freaking Apathy went absolutely bonkers on that crossroads. Just like, you just can't allow him to do that. I remember it was like the P2 rotation. I was trying to skip back to it, maybe put on broadcast for everybody, but it's on my other PC, so sorry. But if you go to their match, it was P2 on the last rotation, I believe, where like they just threw it away and they had like a perfect opportunity. So like, even the team that we think, from the eye test looked the worst week one, they still had like some great moments. So I honestly, we did our power rankings to start the season, John, and I think this might be the hardest season ever to power rank teams in the history of COD, bro. To be completely honest with you,
that's facts.
That might be facts. I feel like once teams start losing a little bit more, and the emotions set in, and teams stop being all vibey. Like even when you're 0-2 right now, they can still be vibey, right? Like we just need to fix this. As soon as that fades away, I think that then it becomes a little bit easier because teams just start playing worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're still at the very beginning.
I think it's also helped that like we've had formats like this where teams are split into two groups and it's some round robin, double round robin, whatever.
Yeah.
These are probably the best like two groups we've ever seen in a format like this. Like I think top to bottom,
we have a page
super
of the
even.
groups. I need to see these groups side by side.
If you go to the standings, it's
I think I remember thinking Group B was better. That's what I remember thinking at the time. I couldn't tell you what teams are in which group right now.
But I'm looking at it now, and I think they're basically even in terms of skill.
What are the groups? Can we pull it up?
Oh, I think Group A is way more difficult, to be honest. And the reason I say that is because Gorillas and Legion are both in Group B, and we don't know what we're seeing on Mutineers. And so I have the groups up right now, John. If you have a good memory, I'll read it to you. But it's Group A. Group A is Thieves, Empire, Surge, Rocker, Royal Ravens, and Subliners. And then Group B is FaZe, Ultra, Optic, Gorillas, Mutineers, Paris. So I would lean towards Group A.
It's pretty even.
It is definitely pretty even, but
I think A is probably the higher ceiling of teams. But it's not like, Paris still can take series off of Toronto, like even a team like Atlanta, the parities like that this year that I could see a situation where we get some upsets out of Paris or LEG or Florida gets hot and they start taking series off of Optic or Atlanta. And then we talked about Toronto earlier. I mean, they might be a force this year, and we'll see this week if they're able to get results against FaZe and Optic. Suddenly, Group B becomes very interesting, and who's going to finish top 3 in that group?
True. My issue with all the bottom teams is I can see them upsetting any team. Like you say at FaZe, and I have no issue with that. I just can't see them stringing together wins. So of these 3 matches let's just stay on the Legion for this one. Florida, Toronto, FaZe. I can see them winning each individual match. I just can't see them winning multiple matches. I just can't see them.
A lot would have to go right.
Like yeah, a lot would have to go right for them, and that's where it's like, okay, maybe the bottom of that was Group B is a little bit weaker than the bottom of Group A because I can see all the teams in Group A technically stringing together some wins.
So if you're Paris, like best case scenario, realistic best case scenario is like, okay, you beat Florida, and then who do you play? Who do they play? They play
Toronto.
FaZe and Toronto. So they still have an opportunity to like grab 2 of these matches, right? I think likely you lose to either Toronto or FaZe, yet to be known. But like I can definitely see them winning that first one. So, best case scenario, they take down 2 matches, and then where does that land you in? Like, let me go look at the bracket.
I mean, 2 and 3, 3 and 2 could be anywhere in these groups. It's like totally down to tiebreakers at that point. Then losing the Gorillas really doesn't help because it's possible in a tie with Gorillas, and then there's your tiebreaker right there.
It's crazy, dude. The major is going to be lit as hell. And in this game is this game is crazy because I could definitely see a team, placing a little bit lower after these 5 matches and then making a run through losers. Like for example, if Rocker starts losing matches and then they get placed in losers, like I could see them making a run all the way to like a championship, just because the players that are on their team they figured out, and especially in tournament format. Damn, I can't wait for that. When's that, in like 3 weeks? It's in 3 weeks, bro.
And I'm just excited that everyone's in them, bro. That's my favorite change from last season is that everyone is at the tournament. Whether or not you start in losers, I mean that's your own fault for finishing at the bottom of your group, but everyone is in the tournament, so we can actually get, in my opinion, real champions, even though people would say that last year, real champions. I like the fact that everyone's in it, so you can see who's the best team at that time.
So let's talk about Rocker here for a second. because we had a good discussion on them before the show aired. So obviously their hard point has looked pretty bad. Their search and destroy has been great. And then a lot of people are talking about like Priesta being a little bit like hot and cold and stuff. So I just wanted to open up that discussion on to like what we think is going wrong for Rocker and Hardpoint, especially. And what do you guys think? What do you guys think is attributing to like the Priesta thing?
Let me icebreak with the stats. I know you wanted to cover the Preston thing. This, again, 1 week worth of stats. We'll see if this holds up. It's kind of blew my mind. So they're actually like winning about half the rotations, and their hold percentage is good. But what's really killing them in hard points right now, and this is per Carson on Twitter, the COD League stats.com guy, they're winning about 9% of their break attempts. In
that's bad.
They can't break a thing.
So what do you need to break though? You need somebody able to, get entries, break kills. You got to play fast and get coordinated attempts.
What do you need on this game? Coordination and someone able to win like the extra gunfight to break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Essentially. And clearly they're not breaking. So, and they're also, there was a couple maps they just got smacked down, like not close. But in their last series, their hard point looked like it got a little bit better. I thought it was terrible when they were lagging, and I didn't realize when they were getting smoked like 130-1 by Empire. But then they replayed that checkmate, and it was a lot closer. But like the Priesta thing, people say that he's like a streaky player. They're trying to like box him into that. I saw people posting about it and stuff. I think like statistically, yeah, it looks like that sometimes. But I think it's like different reasons. Like I think last game he looked like a hot and cold player at times because of the team that he was on and like the role that he had to fill. Because Priesta and every team that he's on, he has to be the chameleon, right?
Fails.
Yeah, he always fills a role. And I think last year he had 4 gods on his team. Like, I don't like to use that term loosely, but they are freaking beast, all 4 of them at the game. And he, tried to fill a role in that team, be a role player. So I think that led to him being a little bit streaky. And then in this game, I think it's an entirely different reason so far. I think it's just all 3 of the players he's playing with, they're not super slow, but traditionally they're not the fastest players. And I think that might be affecting him a little bit because he is a little bit of a quicker player and he's trying to get back into that superstar Slayer role, which, you can't just be a solo Fryman in this game. It's like a traditional COD. So I think they're just in like a learning period right now. And they'll figure it out because they're good players and smart. But yeah, I think that's what is attributing to him having these great maps and these bad maps.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Ben.
No, I was about to say, I'd like to see them play maps other than Garrison, and they look good in that checkmate, but I don't know. Garrison's like a weird map to me, especially if your break percentage is that low. It's so easy to set up on a lot of hills and just dominate and force you to have to rotate early, and then you get kind of stuck in that sort of situation where you get in the back half of hills, and then suddenly you're not rotating and you're having a break, and it just sort of snowballs from there.
Yeah.
Man, that first Garrison they played against the Thieves, right? They had a chance. They were in that game for most of it. I feel like a trophy self-team kill or whatever it may be.
Which got patched, I think.
Did it?
Yeah, I think trophies, their damage got nerfed or something today. I saw JCap tweet.
Like your self-team damage. That's actually pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
Trophy had a good KD this week.
Trophies are going hand. So they were in a position to win that. So, I mean, obviously it's easy to say that they're not the best hardpoint team. I have a hard time blaming Priesta for things because of what you said, Ant. He's the chameleon, right? When you look at him, is he an AR player? Is he a sub player? Well, both. He just does whatever his team doesn't want to do, whatever his team needs to be filled. It is what it is. So if you go back to FaZe in World War II, which I feel like you said this before, right? That hardpoint in this game plays closest to
the last 3 games close to World War II, without question.
World War II. He was their main AR, was he not?
He switched. He switched back and forth.
And he was their best player.
Yeah.
And then he went into Black Ops 4 and was their main AR and was their best player. And then in the middle of the tournament, switched to a sub and was still their best player. Went to 100 Thieves, obviously that worked out. And then he's just always having to do everything. And I don't know. Maybe that's his inconsistency. And I have a hard time blaming him for stuff because I just know that once the team is all on the right page, all on the same page, he's going to be fine.
Yeah. And if you watch their games, like at times you'll see like Attach has like the least amount of deaths, which like might not even be a bad thing in this game, like especially the way Hardpoint plays out. I could definitely see subs picking up like a little bit of a slower type role, playing methodic camping corners and stuff. But maybe just their approach just hasn't, panned out like it has in scrims into actual matches. But yeah, I think they have the slaying power for sure. I think it's just more so everybody getting on the same page and figuring out like their pace together as a squad. like Priest maybe waiting a couple more seconds and slowing down for them. Because if you think about like older CODs, John, when we used to play, Black Ops 2, etc., is like you can play at a fast pace if everybody's running around gunning everybody, but you could also play super slow and just rely on your coordinated one good solid push around the back, right? Like that was the way I like some teams like to play, and I like to play like that too. It's like, I'm just gonna like wait for you and then we're gonna go, but some people, they like to get pushed up and finesse, but a lot of people don't have that skill to be able to do that. So maybe that's what Rocker's trying to figure out, because sometimes, and not to go on a tangent, but sometimes in scrims, when people scrim each other every day and they're watching film every day, they form like this play style where it's like, this is the way hardpoint is supposed to be played. But back in the day, there are actually like a couple ways you could play it, especially with breaks. You didn't need to have 2 attempts. It could just be 1. So maybe that's what they're trying to figure out. And this is all just me theorizing and maybe trying to put myself in the mind of what's going on with a team that's broken right now.
Let's not pretend like they didn't play. Like, I feel like they had the strongest strength of schedule this weekend by far.
Yeah, but right? I'm just talking about watching them, their actual gameplay though, like on the map, like.
But which of those hard points was really bad? Other than that, Moscow one. The Moscow one was bad. All right, blowout. Well, take the other 3 hard points that they played. They lost all of them. Which of them was really, really that bad?
Well, they also lost both of them to Toronto at kickoff too. So it's not just.
Oh, okay. Well, I always just like the kickoff just leaves my.
If it was just the 2 matches, I don't think we'd be having this discussion.
Yeah.
If it was just the 2 matches, but I think the 3 matches like shows that there's a problem that didn't get fixed, that is also not improved, right? So, and that was the series Bance was just obliterating them on, which was Garrison and was it Checkmate game 4?
I don't remember.
I think it might have been Checkmate.
But either way, I didn't think about the Checkmate or the kickoff, so you'd be right. They have something that they need to fix for sure. But I mean, I was just going off this weekend. It wasn't that bad, minus the 1 map where I guess they got out game plan before the match even started, where Thieves came in with 3 XM4s.
Yeah.
And they weren't prepared for it, right?
Still, that's something that plays into it. But also keep in mind that they're losing every hard point, and they also have a veto. So there's also a map that they are obviously not wanting to play, which I think might be Raid, to be honest, because I haven't seen them play a Raid. I don't know what map have they not played then? Do you have that?
So they played Moscow, they played Garrison.
It could also change, but yeah.
They played Checkmate. So yeah, no, they haven't played Raid.
So yeah, it could, I mean, for the info that's available to me, like it could be Raid. And like if they're having a map they're auto vetoing and they're still not winning hardpoints, that is just like a little bit concerning.
Just my team would not be vetoing Raid.
No
just
way.
Out of pure enjoyment.
I feel like Raid would fit their. I feel like Raid would fit.
Hell no.
It could also be that every team is vetoing Raid against them because they have a good. I don't know why. He said it's a sound whore cruddy map and they veto it. Got to be questioning the coaching staff. Must not understand their personnel. Well, Donnie, if you think about it, if I was playing that team, I probably would veto Raid. Honestly, that Raid I probably would veto Raid. So maybe that's just getting vetoed against them. I don't know. Did they veto Raid against you guys, Don?
That's a good question. I doubt
you would know.
I doubt these veto Raid, right? Well, no.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, they have a good team for Raid. I mean, they have.
Man, Don probably doesn't even know. He just goes in the series like, bro, veto what you guys want.
I think Raid's great in this game.
I don't know about that take from Nato. I feel like it plays from the maps I've seen both in real matches and in scrims. Like it plays really, really good in all 3 game modes.
Raid?
Yeah.
Raid controls a little bit weird, but Raid hardpoint, it seems to be okay, except for like the first hardpoint is way different nowadays because I don't know if you remember, Ant, but you couldn't run up the driveway.
Oh yeah,
you couldn't run up the driveway. Like we're like, look at this idiot coming up the driveway. What a bum. Now you can just run up the driveway, and also what you were about to say, jumping up on the first thing is like that was actually a thing that took a little time. Now you just jump up there, get free kills.
Another thing about Raid, and we talked about this, John. We highlighted this that it was concerning. Was back in the day, Raid was obviously a really good map. But the way it played was like, as the AR fights were a little bit longer and subs, you could sprint into doorways and win gunfights because of dexterity. Now you can't just sprint into doorways in this game. So like the way like Breaking Kitchen plays out way different from what I've watched and just playing. Like you can't just sprint into there and win that gunfight, right, and hit good shots. It's a lot harder, and with all the trophies and stuff, it's hard to like nade stun them out too. So you have to like win a really tough gunfight in Kitchen, or jump into money and win a crazy gunfight. So yeah, it just plays out a little bit different, but I do not think that take that as buns is accurate. I think it's just a little bit different. It's not the same. That's just the gunplay coming into play there. I think the
Namo
spawns
just
are
doesn't
good.
like rotating stuff. He just wants to break from the front every single time. So he's calling these maps buns.
Yeah.
Nado's tripping.
What maps do you guys think didn't play out like good this weekend? Like what map was not fun to watch?
Checkmate Control, brother.
Yeah.
Crossroads.
Who had that crazy Crossroads? Was it the Mutineers game? Was it Ultra? I think it was Ultra Mutineers. They just, let me see something. Let me go look back. But
yeah, Crossroads. I know Maddox tweeted out that they're looking to tweak P4. So curious if that
where they put it.
Have to, man. That thing sucks.
And did you see where the proposed new hill was though?
It's in the mix. It's gonna be a mixy hill.
Yeah.
But is it gonna be ice?
It was boxes ice. Yeah, I did not.
That's the only
like
place
that.
on the map that's unused. It's better than where it is. That thing sucks. Do you think it'd become another mixy hill like? P4 in Moscow. Is that what that is? That sucks.
I like ice because then, like on P3, you can like back up and then just hold the middle. Like it gives at least a team that doesn't have P3 like the ability to get initial on P4. But like I think it's gonna get mixy when people are just seeing long routes through P1.
Is initial worth anything? Where are they gonna move the spawns?
That's a question. I have no idea on the hill and how the spawns will work. I'm just taking a guess.
You'd have to move the spawns. In order for it to work, you'd have to move the team that's spawning out towards you'd have to add spawns to the game, which I don't even think exists. Like spawns around P1 or something, so they actually have to work to break it. But if you spawn them on either side, you're not gonna be able to hold it like any time. So it's just gonna be another fucking super mixy waste of time hill.
Which I hate. People spawn deep P4 and like that's your diagonal across the map, and you could just like cut off.
They're still gonna break it quickly.
Yeah, you're gonna break it.
The way you move on this game, on all these games nowadays, you're gonna get there in 3 seconds and it's a break.
You get there too fast. I remember I was talking about this with Mr. X about it when I was watching Crossroads, and why I dislike this map, especially on like a pro level, is like if a team builds like that early lead and then you try to cut off your losses, like say you get smoked P1 P2 and you try to cut your losses and rotate and set up for P3. If that team successfully breaks that setup on that P3, your game is like basically chalked. Like if they I just don't think that is like healthy for Hardpoint, because it's so, like at that point you're playing catch up the whole time, and without spawns on that map it's like so difficult. Like Hardpoint, you should be able to hold it from the front, make that comeback, like if you execute it properly. I just think that with Crossroads, I think that was the map I'm looking at right now. It was the Mutineers and Ultra game where Ultra just built a huge lead, and then they were just holding on to it for the rest of the game because of exactly what I'm saying. And it's just, I just think that plays out lame. So I do hope that they move it somewhere, even if it becomes a bit more chaotic. I'd rather it be that than you have like one opportunity on the map, and if you fuck it up, you're just chalked for the rest of the game. That's my take on that.
I got to do something because I personally don't even like playing that map because of the way it plays out, and watching it is like, I thought I was going to enjoy it, right? Because naturally you're like, oh, smaller map, action. But when you play like this, this sucks. This stinks. And watching it, I felt the same way. So hopefully they do something to change it. I don't even know how. That's a lot of work. It takes a lot to change and add spawns that are effective and feel good to the game. So that's a tough task for anyone to do. I don't know. We'll see.
And the fact that you can come out of the gates with like that side and lock down P1 and you have spawns for P2, and it's like, and then they have to hit it and you break next and flip them out. Like, dude, it's just like a terrible situation to be in off the rip too. You could barely do anything wrong and just be in 100-point deficit 2 minutes and 3 minutes into the game. It's like, what the hell did we do wrong? So we'll see. Any maps you guys really liked this week? Because I have one that I thought was pretty fun to watch, actually. I thought Miami Search was better than what people thought it was going to be. Thought it was pretty cool.
Well, the game initially released, I said that map for Search is not bad. It actually has options, and that's all I ask, because I love Search and Destroy. A lot of maps don't feel like they have options, but that map you can do a lot of different things. You can make moves. You can make a lot of mid-round adjustments where I feel like it really has options, and I agree with you. I feel like that map played out really well. We saw a lot of failed hold attempts for a lot of man down wins on that map. I agree with you. I feel Miami played amazing.
And you can get tricky with it, right? Like we saw Beezy getting pushed up to get those first bloods. We saw Kenny and Temp pushing up top purple or top piano, like making plays. Like you can you like you said, you have options, and I think that makes a good search map. So like people always, I saw the chat too, Miami pop up and everybody's like, oh, I hate Miami sucks, whatever. Yeah, when you're loading up a solo queue in a ranked play, or Miami search and destroy might suck ass, but like on a team level, it's pretty like strategic. It's like a good map. And I saw people saying like no snipers made Miami whack, which I guess if snipers were nerfed a little bit, I think sniping on the map would be cool, but as it stands now, it'd just be ridiculous.
They're too good, yeah.
Bro, watching like Dashi or Simp play that map in the beginning of the game was wild with a sniper. You can really just like hold down both the middle and B side of the map.
For sure.
Absolutely just road starring everyone.
For sure.
I think it plays better now a little bit.
It does. It might help some initial things on Garrison or Checkmate, I guess, but it's just too good. The fact that you're almost never at a disadvantage with the snipers, it's just not how it should be. It's ridiculous. I've seen people absolutely world star people up close, multiple, and it's not luck either. It's like, no, I expected that. It's just that good. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be nasty, but it looks nasty, but it's really not. They're just way too good.
So I'm looking at, let's see, your stats on here, Ben. What's this London one? Blew out.
The London one. Yeah, like that just goes back to how well they played that series against Florida. Like they were just super heavy plus slaying at 1.2 in series as a team. That's going to come down to earth though, because they're playing FaZe in Chicago back to back, two of the top slaying teams in the game, and I'm sure they'll regress a little bit. But if they can get a result, the 4 teams they play next week, FaZe, Chicago, Paris, and LAG, man, like if they split that series between FaZe and Chicago and they go 1-1 going into matches against Paris and LAG, like. And you end up going 3-1 this week, and they end up 4-1 overall. Like that's wild to me.
Am I tripping? When did London play Florida?
Am I blasted? They played someone else.
Yeah,
they only played one match?
They only played Surge. Yeah,
the Surge. My bad.
But that's a stat that's accurate for against Surge, right? That was their.
Yeah, it's accurate to Surge.
Okay.
Dude, but I mean, either way, like it's not like Surge don't have. Talented veterans on their team, guys that can shoot back. I mean, they have Sam on their team. Pierce looked really good at times this week.
We got to talk about the Pierce too. The Hurts thing is ridiculous, bro. How is that? Yeah. How is that possible, bro? Yeah.
It's classic.
Oh, he was playing on 60 hertz or whatever.
Do you know how much of a difference that is, chat? Do you understand?
You can feel it immediately.
Yeah.
If you've ever gamed PC, you can tell it immediately.
Now, I definitely cannot contend with these guys on a pro level, but I remember when I stopped playing on console and switched to PC and I was playing Warzone on like 144 240, it like crossed my mind. I was like, damn, if this is what COD was, I could be a pro again, because I just felt that much more swaggy on the map. Bro, he probably felt like Superman in that series, bro. Like on that first map, he probably felt unbelievable, dude. Like everything looks so much better. Like his frames, like he probably Pierce blows my mind, bro. I don't understand how he didn't realize that, or how nobody told him that. But I get it.
I think you said it. That it feels so much better. Everything feels, all the clunkiness immediately goes away. Like I don't know how you've been playing, and he was playing it like he's playing from Vegas to start. So he's playing from 60 hertz from a West Coast disadvantage, like getting absolutely smoked. It's like sheesh. People were saying that Pierce was absolutely terrible with this game,
but he was playing well.
Now you know why. No, I know. Series. I'm saying before the matches, I'm like, dude, when has Pierce been terrible? He might not be the greatest at times, but terrible. He's been considered one of the best players in like the last 4 titles.
Yeah,
so they're gonna need him this season. I mean, to be up there and meet the goals they want. Him being that dynamic flex guy that can be a 2-3 piecer. Be a difference maker in S&D.
Well, what are you hoping for with that Surge team, right? Like if you're Surge management, you're hoping that Octane can take over games with an AR, and that Gunless is a straight Super Slayer, and Looney and Pristini gain some sort of level of consistency in their game so you can win a championship, right? So what we've seen from so far to this team is Looney and Pristini actually aren't too horrible. Like they aren't too bad. I know people like to, harp on those guys, but I mean, from the sample size we saw, they had some solid maps and some bad maps. I mean, they played Empire. But Octane isn't Octane from last year, at least right now. So if you're like a Surge fan, you need him to turn up. Like you need him to be in the position where he's super frying for them to win, which is entirely possible. So like that team, I think, has a decent amount going for them right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Here's a weird take from me.
Go ahead.
I feel like if you ever gonna be dominant, like the best at your craft, you can't be doing too much. And by that I mean, and I know you're a huge content guy now, right? You're doing all this. If you were doing all this, do you feel like you could be how you were in Ghosts?
0% chance.
0%, right? And Sam, more power to him. His content has been great. Like he's putting out content all over the place. Check it out. But his gameplay isn't. When I watch him, I'm like, he shoots super straight still. He's never not going to shoot super straight. But I'm not watching someone that's dominant on the map. He's spreading himself super thin. And if he's actually going to go back to like being the best main AR, at least in respawns, like the guy you watch, you're like, this guy's just different. He's got to cut it out. Now, if that's not what you want to do with your life, I fully understand. If you don't feel like your team could win, I get it. Do all the content. But if you actually want to give your team a chance to win, I feel like you can't do it. It's just too much. You can't.
That's a good point. I mean,
if you're gonna be the best, if you're gonna be that guy smoking people.
People talk about pressure, but I think it also works the other way around. If your AR is doing a good job of, your subs can play corners and push up on the map and give themselves really easy kills to chain pressure beyond that. And if he's not providing a plus value on the map, then you're forcing your sub players or peers to take difficult and challenging gunfights, maybe against multiple players in some situations.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to what I was saying earlier, which is like almost a lost, topic in COD. It's like you have to, play around. You almost have to like play around like your worst player on your team, and you had to do that way back in the day. Like if you're not gonna have, Simp and Abizi on your team, and you have to play around those guys, right? You have to set them up for success. And like you said, John, I think what you're saying is completely spot on. Like, yeah, he spread himself a little bit thin. I think last year for him, the year was so stressful and so bad that like, the thoughts cross your mind of like, am I going to be able to continue doing this for years and years and years? Like, or do I need to put my cards elsewhere and I can, try to balance both of them? So I think maybe he's just like, going through like a mental reset with this team. And also you have to like gauge like how good your team can possibly be early, and then we'll see him buckle down. So like, obviously Octane's one of the best players in Call of Duty, and he can get there for sure. I think if their team has that potential to be a really good team and he notices that, like he'll go the extra mile to become that player once again. Because last year, bro, like he was doing it. He was frying for a lot of their matches, and then, your team was just so ass. That's got to take a toll on your mental, you know what I mean?
For sure.
That makes like, we've been on those teams, bro, like where you're just like, you feel like you're really good at the game and your team just sucks, and it's like, fuck, bro, I don't really want to do this anymore. I don't want to get on and go 110 in scrims on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll go hard on Friday because we play my friend that I want to beat, so I don't know. It just really comes down to their practice. So if they're getting good practice, I think they'll be really, really good team.
Well, let's rip the Band-Aid off. So I'll take a little bit of a fire take. This is a contract year for Sam. He has the opportunity to potentially be one of the biggest free agents on the market in this offseason and potentially have a lot of suitors.
Yeah.
So, and especially he can get a massive paycheck from the team.
Contract year for everyone, is it not?
I think
everyone that is on the same team.
True.
It's a contract year for all of them, right?
Sure, there are definitely a lot of players, but I think if you're building a team and he's a free agent on there, and let's say LA Thieves resigns all their guys, Optic resigns all their guys, Thieves resigns their guys, Optic resigns all their guys, Dallas, Atlanta, who's left on there? Sam's probably near the top of that free agent pool at that point.
100%. No, I think you're actually 100% spot on. And then he needs to have a good year. And the fact of like, if he wants to get back on one of those rosters in this offseason or build like a crazy good team like that, or possibly have an organization that supports him, grab one of those guys, he needs to be extremely desirable. And this year is important for that, for all those reasons. This is definitely for him like a really important year for him staying at the top. So I think he does need to have a big year. I think for that whole team though, in general, it's just a massive year for all of them. Especially a player like Gunless. Like the last couple of years, there was a point where we were like, this guy's the best player in the game, at least once. So for him, this is a huge year for Gunless to take over and have one of those moments once again. Even if it's just one tournament, like he needs to do that. On top comboed with his new approach to being a teammate, I think would be just great for his reputation level in COD. So they have a lot to prove, bro. It's not like they lack motivation. They definitely have everything going for them in that regard.
I mean, and both, I feel like both Prestini and Looney are both at that point where if things don't go well or decently well, you could easily see them, if the league doesn't expand, you could see them in a spot where they're not in the league, right? I feel like no matter what, even if, let's say, Surge have the worst year ever that's ever existed, Sam and Pierce will still find themselves
Yeah.
a spot. But for the other two, it's like, even if it's not necessarily their fault, it'll be like, you guys didn't provide enough to help win. So why do we want you on the team? And you go really quickly from being a player that's been in the league, been at the top for super long, to not being in the league. And I'm talking like Aches is no longer in the league. People like that, where he has 300 tournament wins and not even considered for a spot. So these times right now are super important. And that's not a shot at Aches. It's nothing against him. I wish I had 300 tournament wins. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's how important a lot of these matches are for these guys. Like, you have to get these W's, and it just is what it is, man. It's time.
And then there's also that team just has a lot of weird things outside of the game that you have to think about. Like with Preston, is like, will he be able to complete a full season of Call of Duty at this point with the things that go on, outside kind of for him in his mental and stuff like that. So for him, I mean, he has a couple, walls of adversity that he has to get over himself. So it's a huge year for him on an individual level to like prove that he can do, build something with a squad that maybe is not supposed to be that best team, and also individually, get past some of the things that have been holding him back in his own mindset, because, maybe, when he's teaming with his brother, like he can help him out, get through some of those things. And now he doesn't have that. So it definitely something to think about for him. And then for Looney, this is a contract. Like if their team isn't like a top 4 team for a couple events, like I feel like Looney will be the guy that teams are just like, I don't really want to grab that guy. You know what I mean? So they have to make like a statement, and that would just be beneficial on all sides, on all parts of them. Because I don't even see
people.
Go ahead.
There are a lot of guys next up in challengers. You got the Wester kids. You got people, the UT crew, Timmy and his cousin Dylan Rex. You got the guys in the New York Subliners Academy. Nato is frying in the Challengers League. There are a lot of people out there that will take spots. And very quickly with this format, you can see teams taking a change after stage 1 and not waiting until the middle of the year. You can't afford to lose those points when you get to the major and end up starting at the bottom end of that bracket of champs.
Especially with the upward trend that COD is on. This is the fan base building phase for these organizations. You're building your foundation right now, right? Like last year, I get was a test, was to figure out the potential COD, the launch, inaugural year of COD. This year, I mean, like you saw, it was the most watched opening weekend of a regular season, or most watched regular season, something like that. It was great numbers, great numbers for COD.
People tuned in.
Great numbers for COD. I mean, we have league play. We're in the game now. Like the digital assets are coming in, the calling cards, the suits, everything. They look awesome. Like this is full-fledged. We're running now. You know what I mean? So this is where you're building your fan base. And then once we start getting back to like LANs, hopefully sometime this year, that's when you're really solidifying the foundation of your fan base. So it is important for these teams to win this year. So that's added pressure onto management and organizations to build a winning roster. If you don't have a Clayster, if you don't have a Scump, or these guys with a huge big brand to sell hoodies and stuff like that, then you need to have a winning team. So these teams like Surge, etc., like they're after Major 1, Major 2, maybe they will be looking at picking up some amateur players and building a fan base based around that, rather than shooting in the dark or finding a needle in a haystack for a championship with a team that's not performing. Yeah, I had to bring up hoodies. Trouble.
Good old Hordy Orcs.
But yeah, that's awesome how COD's doing right now. I guess we could talk about that too. That was sick viewership we had this weekend, bro. I think like the lowest I saw a stream was like 55K for like the Paris and Gorillas match. But yeah, dude, we had, what was it, like 100 plus optic phase like the whole time. Shit was crazy, dude.
It helped that the matches were actually like pretty much for the most part they were entertaining. They're all pretty entertaining, right? So as opposed to last season where I could honestly say where a lot of them were just they were duds. They were complete duds. This season, those guys, even with the exception of like maybe a couple blowouts, right?
Yeah.
They were pretty fun to watch. So that bodes well for COD. And like we talked about the parity across the league, that bodes well for COD. So that when you tune in, you're not watching a bunch of stinkers, basically.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
It helps that the 4 biggest, I guess we'd call them legacy brands, even though 100 Thieves was only in COD for a few years. All 4 of them have very highly competitive top teams currently, driving viewership, but also driving interest from the outside. That really helps. And I think a lot of these other teams, like a Florida Mutineers that build correctly, Toronto that have built correctly over the last 2 years, they're going to start to build their fan base more and more. And once we start to go lands and people that are living in those cities are like, cool, there's an event. Like that's going to drive a lot of growth for those teams going into year 3, year 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Also, have you guys noticed this? And I don't know if it's just like people have figured out after. Hold on. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I don't know if it's just maybe the pandemic hit and they had to figure it out and pivot. But since 100 Thieves joined the league with the LA Thieves, all the teams' content has stepped up now. Like they're making more content pieces, etc. I don't know if it's like that happened and they're like, okay, we gotta level up and make sure we're making some fire content, because we all know 100 Thieves is known for not just their hoodies but also their great content team. But every team has started, like Empire with the Crim questions, and then like their little taste show that they did. Optic has always been good at that, but we're seeing like Ultra had like their little skit with their sponsor Jack Links. Like we're seeing teams create more and more content now, which I think has been good for viewership as well. I think that's been has a direct correlation to, you know, more people becoming fans of these teams and actually supporting their matches rather than only tuning in for, you know, one big game. So I think that, you know, Rocco's doing some good stuff too. They have like their weekly podcast and shit. So I think that the content has been great. So last year, whereas me and John, we harped on a lot of organizations for not making good content, I just want to say this year they've been doing good.
I really do feel like it's the pandemic. I 100% believe that a lot of people are now together, like in Texas or wherever they may be. Toronto's all in Toronto. It forces you to figure out something to do. Like, all right, we got to do something. We can't really make the general recon type, whatever it is, like where they follow your events and follow you to the hotel rooms. Like, you got to do something where you have fun with it, and they're doing a really good job with what it can do. It's hard. It's definitely hard nowadays to get content teams out and do what you need to do, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from pretty much everyone across the league. All
right, now lastly, or unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about, I want to talk about next week, the Super Week, the freaking Gauntlet Week.
Super Week.
It's crazy. They moved around some of the matches. It's like, let's see, Mutineers now play like back-to-back days, which could be very good for them because they play Guerrillas and then Legion. So they can just sort of like catch fire and steamroll back-to-back and gain some momentum, you know? So who is it like a must win? Like who has to have a great week here? Paris, right? They have to win that Mutineers match, I think.
Florida.
Yeah, so that match, that's like the most crucial match, I think, for week 2 in terms of like future is like Florida and Paris, right? Let's see, what else is there?
I would say, if I remember looking at this, I would say the Royal Ravens actually.
Well, they play like Empire.
They play New York first.
Yeah, they do. You're right.
So I feel like they have to win that because their next matches are literally the top of the pack. Empire, FaZe, LA Thieves, or something like that, or Empire, LA Thieves, Rocker. Like it doesn't get for the next 3. It doesn't get much harder than that. That's a ridiculous stretch. They got to win that first match.
Is if they win a couple of those, then that group again. We talked about tiebreakers in this conversation. The tiebreakers in that group become insane if somehow London win like 2 or 3 of those matches. And we're starting to think about map to map count between 3 tied teams that potentially 3 and 2 or 4 and 1.
Oh, okay, Ben. But if you were a Vegas odd maker, the chance that they win
probably not that high
against Subliners, Dallas, and Thieves, you put $1,000 on that, you probably make $100,000. Like they're not gonna win that. They're not gonna win all 3 of those matches.
I mean, honestly, if you look at the week, every single match has major implications. Just because you can only play 5 games. So I mean, like just looking at it, like Guerrillas, Mutineers, Legion, like any Mutineers match, Ravens, Subliners, like all these matches are super important. Even down to these like Rocker matches. Like what Rocker will we see next week after they beat Empire and got that confidence? Maybe a brand new team. So I don't really think it's necessary for us to give predictions and stuff because every match is so important. It's going to be impossible to accurately predict next week. Legitimately, like even come close.
I think I could do it. I'm usually 100% spot on with predictions.
Well, let's make our predictions and then we'll post them to the Twitter and see who got most of them right. We could also make a Codcast pick'em group, which I think would be cool. We should definitely do that. And then you get points and stuff. So see who's winning. Maybe at the end of the year, Somebody gets an XP care package or something. That'd be fire.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. See who's the smartest. See who the smartest is. We can probably do that with fans and amongst us.
Or who's the craziest. One or the other. Anyways, though, is there any other topics you guys want to hit before we do call-ins? Ben, you want to talk about that?
Challengers Elite. What are your guys' thoughts on the competition? And if you've watched, sort of, what are your thoughts on top teams both in Europe and NA?
Let's see. Let me go look back. I know Challengers have been freaking grinding. Their league started. Let's see.
I'll give my thoughts. I mean, from top to bottom, Wester's obviously been sort of at the head of NA.
Yeah, they've just been frying. Let's see.
And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's the Triple West." Like, they've only lost a couple of maps.
They went off host too, so
yeah. I mean, so that's pretty whack. And they just beat Subliners Academy, I believe yesterday.
They beat them 3-0.
Yeah. So they still have a match against UT Crew. That would be interesting if UT Crew win that, and we have like a 3-way tie 5-1. But luckily, Wester will be on top of that. And then for me in Europe, the Orgless team, which I believe,
what's the roster?
Train hard on that team.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up all this info first right now. Hold on.
So Orgless is the team with Nasty and Vortex, Josh and Harry, and then Train Hard is Hydra's team. So it's him, Keza Whalers, and this kid. Hydra's actually been frying, by the way, in these matches. I don't know.
So Wester has won. They won the first 4 cups. Holy cow! And jeez, dude. I mean,
what was it? Paul X, Venom, Tom Gravity,
and Zaptius.
I mean, you got a lot of guys, like, they're not onliners. A lot of those guys have won LAN events over the last couple of years. Tom, I swear, has been on like the top.
I feel like Tom's been frying for years. Yeah, he's got to be like one of the next up.
He's been going at it for a while, though, right? Every time I hear people say who they're going to bring up, they never bring him up. His name is never brought up for whatever reason. Well, I don't know anything about him as a player.
It's the main AR
it's always like.
I mean, it's so hard to break it. Like, think about the main ARs in the league. It's just it's the hardest position to break through in the league because you've either got established leaders or people that are constantly plus slayers, and like you're not going to unseat those guys. On top of that, 12 people lost their spot, and those were ARs. So that kind of explains. Although I do think at some point someone will give Tom a shot in the league.
You deal like directly with that broadcast, right, Ben, or what?
No.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you some questions about it. But yeah, they've been. Yeah, no, it just seems like Wester's been frying. New York Academy obviously looks good. I haven't been specifically watching those matches, more so just been on the CDL side of things. But yeah, I mean, it's like what we talk about, like those guys that are consistently popping up on the timeline, the guys that are consistently winning. Like, it's really just the top guys that always get brought up. If you're getting 3rd and 4th and stuff like that, usually you don't really see those guys get brought up. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how they continue to do as the year goes on, and see if any of them get moved on up. But I mean, as of right now, on my radar is really just, like we talk about Nato, and then we talk about the guys that aren't Westar. We'll see though.
Yeah, we'll love to see the Westar guys kind of bet on themselves and try and stick through it this whole year, because if there is an expansion team next year, would love to see those guys carry that on to another year. And
would they all get picked? Would they all get? Yeah. See, this is where I have to come in, because you've always been sort of partial towards the challengers teams, Ben, and you can't deny that. And for those guys, like, that full team is not going to get brought on to a franchise. It just will not. Like, they wouldn't. No. I don't see that happening. And specifically because I think those teams would get a solid player from another team and give them enough money to make them come over here and say, hey, let's build a team around you. And then we'll see some of the talent maybe get spread out a little bit more across the league. And then maybe 2 or 3 of those guys get put on teams across the board. But I don't think you're seeing a team come in and pick up that full team. I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening.
I think what would happen. Look,
as a management,
I was kind of tossing out a fire take out there, and yes, I have
to do that as a management.
Have been partial to Challengers team. Whilst on FaZe did help assemble the greatest Challengers amateur team of all time, FC Black. But that guess aside, I do kind of see what will happen is Paul X or Venom may end up on another team, and so they won't be able to stick with that 4. But you love to see. I mean, we've seen it, man. Like, there have been so many good up and coming teams over the years, going so far as back as like AW that came out of Open or were a Challengers team and fried, and then just broke up, and we never got to see their full potential. And I think this Westar team if we do get some challengers lands this year, would love to see them prove everybody wrong and go to LAN and continue to still win.
Let's see. Were they on a full roster last year? Or go ahead, John. I'll talk about it.
Here, okay. So when I say that people in the chat and Ben, like when you guys say that they're gonna pick up a whole team, I'm not gonna take away from their accomplishments, right? They're a good team. They're a good challengers team. They're doing well. Blah blah blah. But you realize that they're beating other challengers teams in these tournaments. Like, right? You guys realize that, right? And what's going to happen is they're going to take whoever the people consider their best players. They're going to take them away from that team. That team instantly becomes worse. There's no way that team sticks together throughout the whole season and actually gets picked up. That would be dumb from a management team's perspective anyways, when there's going to be other free agent pros that are out there to add to the team that can improve spots where you're a little bit weaker. You're talking about players like, I don't want to say anyone's name because they'll get upset. I know that they can beat pros, by the way, if they were to play them in matches.
They scrim pros all the time, almost every.
Of course, because that's a good team to play when you don't have a pro scrim. They're the best challengers team. That does not mean you can't beat them, but it's not like there haven't been good challengers or AMS teams in the past where they beat other AM teams and then lose to even the bottom pro teams. I feel like people don't understand that there's levels to this at a consistent basis when it comes to pro gameplay.
For example, if you took Paris Legion and you put them in challengers, I'm pretty sure that they would be getting to the finals of nearly every single challengers tournament, every single one. Like that, there are levels to this, and that's something that people forget. Like they romanticize the idea of the four, average Joes coming into the league and frying pro teams, which I don't see it happening. And from a management position, I think that would be honestly like an asinine move to make, and it probably wouldn't even happen anyways. Because if they dominate the entire year and they continue to fry like this, one of those guys is going to get brought up anyways prior to them that even being an option.
Yeah, I know there was some interest on a couple of their players due to the Zero situation, but those were trial basis, and I think those folks.
They always are though.
For them to
even Parasite was picked up on a trial basis.
Yeah, and
then it's like a 2-week basis, and then you have to get a full contract.
But once we get to stage 1 and teams are making real changes after that, they're gonna struggle to keep that team together. But again, wishful thinking. Would love to see them dominate challengers this year, and then see what happens after that.
As a player, I think you'd actually be dumb not to take an opportunity as a professional to be on a starting professional team and get your shot at becoming like a real piece. Like, I don't know what team Awakening was on last year in the AM Worlds. I don't know if you can remember, but that's how relevant it is in the grand scheme. Yeah. I watched all these matches and I couldn't remember, and then he comes in and is a vital piece to a pro team. Like, stick with your team, Awakening. You'll get like, no.
You guys all get
if you get the opportunity,
no.
take no, take
Look at him
it.
now. I mean, he's on a good ass team.
He was
on Wester before he was picked up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Leave that. Yeah, leave that. No, sir. Go take your shot. Maybe you'll make a difference. Like, what? that is faded. Anyone who gets an opportunity on a team that doesn't completely suck should take it. Like, so New York last year, they were bad.
It's not like we haven't seen.
They don't completely suck.
It's not like we haven't seen Zapdius play in the league. Didn't he get play some league matches? What game was that?
He's in Black Ops 4.
Black Ops 4. Yeah, didn't he get thunder? He got thunderclap like smoke. Like it just takes a bit, That's not a shot at him as a player. He could have gotten better. That experience is definitely beneficial to his career. It's a different level. Definitely a different level.
I see a take in the chat that franchise statistically, open bracket teams did not win many series when they came out of open at any of these events. There are rare exceptions to that, like the E6 team back in AW, but most teams that came through open in the day got 3-0 smoked by everybody they played, and that was that.
Just like from personal experience, I've played through open a few times, and I've never not made it through open. Like, I've always made it through open, and I've gotten top 8 nearly every time I've made it through open. So, like, there are teams that fry in there, and yes, they make it through. But, like, and when we see, like, when we saw historically some of the pro teams that failed to qualify at the initial qualifiers in the game, they fried their way through open and made runs and did what they needed to do to secure themselves back in the league. I remember for when FaZe went through open and they got top 4 at the tournament. I remember my team was forced to go through open, and we were supposed to play all these AM teams that were going to be way better than us and beat us and knock us out. And we ended up playing them and beating all of them. And then we played like Priestess team, which was the West Star at the time. And we smoked them to get through and to secure our spot into the league. So it was like, when you think about it historically in COD, it hasn't been like that. So whereas they might, come in and win a couple games, would it be a smart decision to pick up a whole team? Yet to be known. We'll see. The only example that I could think of, and I saw it in chat, was like Midnight in Black Ops 4, and those. I mean, there were players
and they never actually played an actual tournament either. So we never even know how they would have competed in a real tournament. But yeah, that would be the best example for sure.
I don't know. I think the only other example I can think of was E6, but I think at that Ontario event where they played well was like, I don't think there were
different
pulls at that event. It
different
was like a
era,
double mission
dude.
bracket. Yeah.
Also, that was a one-off. After that, they never got to even close to that again.
Well, the team fell apart after that. They did the whole contract situation, and they ended up having a totally different roster.
Well, that's not true, is it? I don't. Whatever. The contract situation. They were unknown people.
Yeah, but they had a whole thing where they were trying to re-sign contracts, and team fell apart, and like Caden Ruiz left.
Also,
this whole thing.
Keep in mind with that Midnight team, it wasn't like it was players who had been playing. Like Envoy had gotten top 4 at top 6 or top 4 at like the
top
national
6
championship, and Lamagod had been dabbling in pro level play for like 4 years at that point. So like it's not.
Yeah,
it was a little bit different. And then we never saw them play actual match, and then players went to other places and were freaking godlike, like Envoy. All right, but anything else? That was a good topic, Ben. Great topic. Anything else, John, you want to talk about before we do Collins?
No, I think that's good. Then we're good. Yeah, Collins. Let's get him.
Gersh, if you're in the chat, you can drag in the first Colin.
I gotta drag people in. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Oh, he doesn't have powers.
Might also take people a second when I drag them in for them to know they're in the channel.
Oh, hey, can you guys hear me?
Hello, Treble. How you doing?
Oh, what's up, Treble? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. It's actually the first time this week I have power.
Oh my God. Excuse me. Godspeed to you, man. Where you at, Texas?
Yeah, I'm over in Austin. I've walked like 40 miles in the past 2 days.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man. How you been staying warm?
Oh yeah, I got power like literally 1 a.m. So I've been pretty good since then.
Oh, that's good. Well, glad you're safe. What do you want to talk about today?
All right, so my question is more about London's schedule, considering like they have 4 matches and the easiest one to win is Subliners. Even that's not even an easy one to win.
No easy matches.
I was wondering how Parasite's 2-week contracts get looked at, considering they have a realistic chance of going 0-5, and kind of their outlook moving forward in the season.
So,
don't quote me on this, but I think that 2-week period already went past, and they signed him for sure.
Yeah. So from my understanding, it's really hard right now to go from the UK to the US.
Yeah.
Due to coronavirus. On top of that, I have no idea what the current situation is with Zero's visa, and there's a lot of steps. Once you even get approved for the visa, to get stamped and then be able to actually travel with that. So I would not be surprised if he's going to end up playing almost all of stage 1 with them, and maybe into stage 2.
But are you asking how does he get viewed as a player if they go 0-5, or like sort of like the implications of this week for Parasite's career? Is that what you're asking? Or you're more so wondering what he gets?
Well, I guess at the start, because I didn't know he got re-signed or like on that extended contract. So I guess now it's more about, I guess, how he's going to get viewed, because it is kind of his comeback. And so these are really important.
So that is entirely up to Haggy. I think for a Parasite, like, he doesn't even need to go off. If he does his job and plays like so the thing about Parasite that's always been in question is, one, his ability to be a good teammate, which that's starting to turn around a little bit, starting to turn around. Some of the pros are starting to, become more friendly with him, change their mind on that. So he's done a good job there. But it also, when he plays on a pro level, does he get smacked down in some of the pro matches? Because he fries. When you watch Parasite stream in these challenger matches and, scrims and everything like that, he's very good. Like, he's really good at all these games. And last year, he's a great player. So far in this game, he's been a great player. But sometimes in the history of his career, he's gotten into these big matches and he's gotten fried, and there's been an excuse a lot of the time. So I think if he can just play consistent and do what we see out of him in challengers, which he doesn't go, completely crazy, if he's just consistent, then I think a team will give him a shot next year. If they have a flex or a main AR position open, I think he can get a good opportunity. I don't think he needs to go above and beyond. He just needs to be consistent and not cause any problems and create zero excuses. That's what I would be looking for, as if I was a manager on the cusp of like, should I be looking at Parasite as a potential player for my team or sub? That's what I would be looking at these 2 weeks. I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, it definitely does.
Well, thank you, Treble.
Yep.
But like John, Ben, do you guys agree with that? Like, He just needs to do what he's been doing in challengers, which is just being a consistent good teammate.
Let me toss a fire take out into the void that we didn't really talk about. Really surprised what's happened with Dylan and his current skill ability. Was an absolute fryman in Black Ops 4 and hasn't been at that level since then. And I wonder
which Dylan?
Dylan COD.
What I saw to Dylan this week was incredible. The plays that he was making, things he was doing on the map. I don't know statistically what you're looking at, but from what I saw Dylan doing was he is still very good, very capable. What is his stats? What are you looking at there?
I can double check, but last time I believe when I looked at his stats, he was either in the mid or low on KD. So
I thought
Dylan's
he looked
kind
good.
of right, average, spot on right now. And KD, he's like literally right in the middle, in the mid .9s.
Yeah, I thought Dylan looked good,
not
man.
the level we saw in Black Ops 4, where he was just straight dominating teams by himself in that game.
But here's the thing. I think he's still on that level, bro. John, you're muted. We haven't heard you this whole time.
Oh, well, all the pros say that it has to do with grapple. He was the best grapple player in Black Ops 4, so he just had a ridiculous impact on the map. After watching him last season, he wasn't even bad. His team was just... There's baiters on his team. Let's just keep it a buck.
Yep.
And he was always having to do so much. I don't feel like he even played bad in that single match we saw this weekend. So
I'll be completely honest with you. I mean, from the eye test, watching Dylan, I think he can go toe-to-toe with any sub. Like, in the right situation, right, like... I don't know what the intangibles, like the communication aspect of him, his level of understanding of the game, but Gunny, bro, he hasn't lost a step in that regard, in my opinion.
I think Dylan's nasty too.
He was gunning, bro. I think that kid is really, really, really good. Really good. He doesn't, have crazy good ARs around him. It's not like, I mean, his ARs and his flex and AR right now are Haggy and Shawnee. I mean,
yeah, it's a tough duo.
That's a really, like, they can win games, but is that a long-term team? No.
Nasty.
Like,
yeah.
Like, and with Trey back, like, I could see Dylan getting back to that Black Ops 4 level, but like, that's not even a shot at Haggy. It's just a role that Trey would play for the team. So I think Dylan's disgusting, bro. I'll tolerate no Dylan slander in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that fire take as you called it, Ben. I disagree.
I mean, last year though, like, I could see why somebody would say that, but like, just having shot against these guys, like, and when I watch Dylan play, I know the level of player that he is, and I see that it's not his fault that his stats aren't looking the best.
Yeah, but we'd like to see him team with some American players, and
We've never seen it. Yeah.
We've never seen it.
Like, even in that game in Black Ops 4, he was completely super frying, taking over games. But like, he had some games some series where he had 0.8s, 0.9s. That's the nature of his play style. You know what I mean? So, and he didn't have the crazy good players around him in that game. So if he had a different team, imagine the damage that kid could do. If you took him and put him on Rocker, you took him and put him on with Octane.
Him and Preston running on the map.
Yeah, or him with Octane. Like, his shit would be crazy. Who's in here? Oblivious. What's up?
Hi guys, big fan.
Thanks, man.
What's up?
I just have a quick question. What do you think about Optic's recent SNE performances, and do you think they need to bring in someone like Tupac as a coach for SNE?
No. Obviously, they haven't been good, right? But I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I don't think it's as big a deal as, say, Ant does, but I think that over time they're going to figure it out. They probably haven't played the maps that many times together, at least. So once they figure out a little bit, they're never going to be a great search team. I never think that's going to be the case, but they just have to be average. And I wouldn't stress too much about that right now for Optic.
Honestly,
We've also run into maybe the core of what will end up being one of the best SNE teams of all time.
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Honestly, though, like, my view on Search and Destroy is a lot of it comes down to, like, you can have all the strategies in the world, game plans, whatever you call it. Honestly, a lot of Search and Destroy comes down to, like, situational play and reactions. Like, yo, I'm going to go mid this round, right? And just how you go about going mid, like, you might play, an amateur team where a kid just hits straight up the middle of the map and catch you off guard. You're like a pro team, like, go mid. All right, I'm going to go street and make sure nobody's there. If there's nobody street, I'm going to converge over here with you. We're going to wait and team fire or team push into gold together. You know what I mean? Like, it just comes down to like that small communication on the map and situational play, being able to assist your teammates. And that's where Optic is undeniably going wrong, right? Like, no matter what situation that they're in, like if somebody's making a play or there's a play call on the map right now, the other teammates or whoever's in the other positions on the map are not in positions to be of assistance. And they're not taking advantage of situations that they get the first blood, where they have the advantage on the map. And that comes down to those situational plays that you have to be on top of. And that's on an individual level, you know? Like, there's so many times you can go back and look at a round and be like, yo, why didn't you come help me here? And like, next time come help me here. But you can't emulate every single situation in search and destroy. So it really comes down to the individual. So it's on people like Formal to figure that, because I think Envoy's fine with it. It's on people like Formal to figure it out, right? Like, yeah, you know, the Scumps to figure it out, things like that. And they have to get on the same page with their timing and stuff, and realize what your teammate is even capable of doing on the map as well at the same time, to know what play you can make. So that's what I noticed from them. And I don't know if you could fix that. Like, sometimes players can't, like, but like sometimes teams don't fix those problems though. Like, that's like individual, like search and destroy, like level of play that sometimes teams don't fix. So if there is no crutch play style like other CODs where you can just 4-push together, or obvious plays that work in search and destroy, and like, they might not be able to fix it, but we'll see. I think they're good enough to maybe put it together. But I don't think you need to bring in like a Tupac to teach them that. I don't even know if Tupac would have the ability to be able to coach a team like on an individual mentality level like that. I don't know. I have no idea what he's capable of, so I don't think that's the answer at all.
Does this spur from Tupac saying, I think he put out a tweet saying like he wants to come help, but he meant as a player. I'm pretty much 100% sure he wanted to come play for a team.
I think it was just like community posts like after the match. People were saying
it was
Tupac
tweeted something.
I think he did tweet something.
It was before that.
He did break it down in a YouTube video, if you saw that.
Okay, anybody can do that though. All right, hold on, listen. That anytime I see the like you know, the analysis videos after matches is like, anybody can watch something over and over and in hindsight say what you should and could have would have done. And he's just no denying he's a great search and destroy player, but like real time going into a match, being able trying to like teach somebody like what decisions that they should make, like it's just endless. I don't even know if I would be able to, you know, teach somebody. That comes from like experience and like an aha moment when it goes well for you. I don't know. It's hard to explain it without you having experienced it, but I know John can attest to what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can't teach basic thought, like the way that you react to certain things on the map. They're never going to be the same again. You can't teach it. So
that's team. That's just like teamwork too. Like knowing what your teammate's capable of. We'll see. I mean, they have like in the past when they were really good at search and destroy, like what was it, Black Ops 4 in the beginning of the year with like TJ Dashy, Crim Scum, they were nasty at search, right, John? And that was when Dashy was like world starring with a sniper. TJ was pushing up and getting first bloods. Like, there's no sniper. That's not even like a consistent way to like, you know, win. Like, we'll see. I can't make any predictions for them in search and destroy. But it did not look good.
They're going to need this search and destroy prowess though if they want to beat teams like Atlanta, and Dallas will get better at search. That's got to be a goal for them if they want to win multiple majors this year.
And what I was just saying, like those are things that Atlanta and Dallas has. All the individual situational reactions and plays, like they have that, making something out of nothing. That's why they're winning their, you know, all their 2v2s, because they have that, bro. Even Minnesota, like they have that too. Like they know what they're clutching. I don't know. Search is is super fun to watch in this game though, because you can just outplay the shit out of people right now. All right. Anyways, thanks for the question.
Yeah, thanks.
You set me on a bender right there.
Yeah.
COD makes sense again though. You know, like last year.
Yeah.
You didn't have options last year, bro. I like it though. Who's in here? Jake? Jake, what up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Going good.
Good. So my question was, with the new format in the CDL, it's pretty apparent that the league is trying to move back toward like a pool play open style event that we used to have before there was franchising. And the community has been asking for something like that for a while now. And do you guys think moving forward, it's possible to create a franchise event format that is as good or better than what we used to have back in the CWL days.
So you mean like an actual open tournament? Like I don't. The way this style now, it's like it's about as good as you're gonna get. You're not gonna get any large scale tournament like you did back then.
Yeah, because they paid money to be in here.
Yeah, open teams are never gonna play against pro teams. Ever.
I mean, do you guys think it's possible to maybe bring in the academy teams?
No.
That's a bummer.
Think about it. To do that, what would need to happen, Jake? Think about it logistically and realistically. Like, what would need to happen? First of all, let's think about it logistically. How many stations would you need with PCs set up? And also, like, we talked about this before. Like, imagine an open tournament now that we're on PC, trying to set that up. Every single person. I know Ben's probably stressed thinking about it. Like that like logistically, that probably would not even work. To be completely honest, it's a massive undertaking.
It can work. I mean, there have been, DreamHack and ESEA have done stuff in the past.
Bring your own.
But having a standardized
super. No, Ben. It's never been done. You just made that up. It's always a super small scale, or you bring your own stuff.
Yes, I've been to one of those events. I went to.
It adds logistical challenges, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. I think that's capped to say that.
It's definitely not impossible, but logistically, it is a nightmare. And the issues that it brings up there's a lot. But anyways, aside from that, even if we were just wishful thinking that it was possible, why would all the teams agree to do that and risk like your team losing to like, your academy team? And like, it's just like, it's a league. Like you don't see, I don't know, like D League NBA teams playing
the Lakers.
It just does not happen. Yeah. So it's just a league. So yeah, no, I mean, to answer your question is just like, to our knowledge, no, that probably will never happen.
Someone in the chat said, "Oh, what Counter-Strike?" No, they don't do that in Counter-Strike. Usually in Counter-Strike, there's one or two stations.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, go to DreamHack events and there's open tournaments all the time.
You bring your own stuff. You bring your own stuff
too. I mean, it's
okay,
it's
but
doable,
the thing is, so the way how CWO works, they get there days before and they set all this crap up. You think they're gonna set up like a quadrillion PCs and have no issues?
The settings change.
I think it's doable. Yeah. It's definitely a challenge.
Well, they did it back in the day with StarCraft. They did do it back in the day with StarCraft, but that's one guy per like it's different. Like it's not. I don't know. It's like 4 people. I don't know. That shit would be crazy, bro.
So do you need 9 PCs per? Because you need the host PC or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That just sounds like an absolute nightmare. It's possible, obviously. You can set up 9 PCs, but where do you get in all this space? Like that's a nightmare. And either way, you still wouldn't funnel into the main tournament.
I wish I had Spencer here because Spencer used to have a stat on how many open bracket teams actually won series in past TWL tournaments. That number was not very big. It was like less than 10, I think, per year.
Yeah, and then it's like, with the fantastic viewership that we're getting and the way everything's going, why would that even be like a necessary undertaking that would be like, is that something that you would consistently do for COD? Like, is that something that I just don't see that being an option?
From a viewership standpoint, I'll tell you right now, it's horrible. Whenever you had to wait for those, and I'll even say this when I worked on the desk, and doesn't have to say this, but when you had to wait for the open team to play all the matches in pool play, holy crap, that is when everyone sleeps. That is when everyone sleeps. Like, what time did the matches start? 12? Yeah, but the tournament starts back at like 6. You're like, all right, I'll be there at 6:30. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, the venues were completely the venue's completely empty. The crowd's empty. Like, it's just, there's a place for it to be put on display, and that's on a stream. And yes, that is a great training ground and place to build talent, and it is necessary. But they do not need to be directly compared to our pros and playing against the pros. That is special and it's separate. You know, like in my mind. Yeah, thanks for the question, Jake.
No problem. Thanks for the answer, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'll direct the next person in here.
They have like a huge prize pool too, don't they? Wasn't Challengers like $250?
Elite is a lot of money, man. Like they have put an insane investment in a Challenger the last couple of years, and this year I think the Elite format is great. People have been tuning in. The matches have been really good. I'm excited to see when like playoffs and the high stakes stuff really kicks in. We see the relegation matches. Like those are gonna be really meaningful.
Yeah. All right. Moss MD, what's up?
What's going on, boys? How we doing tonight?
Doing good. Great night. How you
Life's
doing?
good. Life's good.
I'm pretty good. Just chilling.
Good to hear.
First time on the show, you know?
Welcome.
Yeah, a little nervous, but it's all good.
Oh, you're good, dude. We're chilling.
Yeah. All right. So my question has to do a little bit with like the player personalities themselves. So my question's gonna be, so building furniture can be one of the most frustrating things to do depending on who's helping you out. If y'all had to pick one current pro to build a dresser from IKEA, who would it be and why?
Shoo! A current pro to build something.
Yeah, just like
Apathy.
Yeah, I was gonna say app too.
Guy's a dad. He's got to have built something at this point.
I'm gonna say
Right?
Cram or Clay.
Nah, no way.
Hell no.
Luna definitely
Hell
builds
no.
everything for Clay, and
Or they just pay for it to get done. Ain't no way.
I think I would probably go with Slacked. I think he has a straight up house and
That's a good
fully
choice.
fully
That's a good
furnished.
choice. That's a good choice. Krim. Absolutely not.
I
Maybe
would
if
have
we're
said.
going
Oh,
night
sorry.
vision
real-
Man's
hunting.
got all the tools, bro.
I would have said slasher because you can build robots.
It's a
I
good
think,
one.
yeah. But then I
robots,
saw,
not a desk.
yeah. It's just
That's
funny when you see some of these pros like house or their apartment and the way they have it set up. It's like it's just hilarious to me. Pretty sure Slasher had a picture of Thanos above his bed. It's like, was that?
Nothing was better than coming to those Columbus apartments and then seeing what the other team had left or what mess they had left and having to clean up before my team got there. Those were fun times.
Dude, my well, I was living on college campus during IW. My room was literally, it was disgusting, bro. I had a bed that was just sitting on the ground. I had an old, like, it was probably like a 25-year-old dresser, and I had a plastic table with my setup on it. You just don't give a shit, like, at all, bro. Like, you literally just, like, when you're competing, like, you just don't care. Like, that's why can't really like judge anybody, because I mean, you're just using it for its function. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going with Slacked, bro, because he's got a house. I respect it.
Yeah.
Good choice. Good solid choice.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Alright,
remember your first setups? Oh, you have another one?
No. I was just gonna say thanks for answering that
Oh,
because
no problem.
I knew it was a little trolly.
It's all good. Thanks for coming around. Thanks for coming,
Yeah.
asking questions.
Do you,
problem.
do you guys remember your first like big gaming setup, John, Ben?
Like big or like
Like the one that you were hyped about, like your first one you were hyped.
that's when I first got my ViewSonic. I don't even know if you guys remember that,
I had
but
a Magnavox, bro.
I think that was the MOG official monitor back in the day in like H3. I got my first ViewSonic. I was like, I'm hyped. It was like 5 ms.
Yeah.
Nowadays it'd be a complete trash monitor, but at the time it was lit.
Dude, Black Ops 1 we used to play on was the Asus or was it ViewSonics? Black Ops 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Those were dude, I had the blue dot FAMAS, that shit was fire. Oh,
It's
so
like
we
the
got
only
another,
COD game I did.
got another one in here. Bilko, what up?
Bilka just got moved.
Bilky, you there? Oh, RP. Oh,
DJ Zay?
All right, moving to someone else.
now moving DJ's A. Here we go.
Hey guys,
Hey,
What's up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
good.
Lovely.
So my question is, do y'all believe in LA Thieves becoming a top 3 or top 2 team in the league? I had this argument a lot with my friends because I honestly believe in them. Slash is a top AR in the league. People keep on forgetting, like, even though Temp is known for being toxic sometimes, he still is a top player in the league. We all know about Kenny and TJ. When he's rolling, he's rolling. So I drastically believe in the LA Thieves becoming a top 3 or a top 2 team in the league. A lot of
Yeah.
my friends call me crazy for that, but I really believe in it. And I have Kenny as my MVP at the end of the season.
Let me ask you this. Great. I mean, I mean, you brought up some good points. What is your friend's argument to them being not a top 2, top
They're
3
already
team?
at least top 4.
Yeah.
So it's not much of a stretch.
So they say that, like, with Temp's personality and Slasher, that they're gonna collide and that's gonna mess up the team. They also say that, like, with Slasher teams, normally they have to make a change in the team and then they become a top team. And then they also say they don't believe in TJ because of how many times in a season he will have ups and then he will have some drastic downs. In which that is true. Everything what they said is true, but I still believe in, like, this season, like, they all want to play together. They got the team. they don't really have the team that they want, since like it has been stated that they wanted Priester, not Temp at first. But Slasher has teamed with Temp before, so he understands what he's getting himself into with Temp.
No, yeah.
Also,
I mean, I think you're right. I think they can easily be a top 2, top 3 team. I mean, you got to practically think about like the things that your friends are saying. So it's like, what I would say to them is like, dude, the last 2 years COD has been 5v5, crazy difference in COD. Last time it was 4v4. A lot of these players were amazing. Temp's only gotten older and better. From what we just watched, TJ looks a lot better than he did last year. This game's also a lot more traditional than the last 2 games, which were all these players were better at. So, I mean, I think you just you explain those things to them for your argument, but I'll open it up to John and Ben.
Dash, or what do you say? Donnie played with Slasher, and they got in the fights. And I'm friends with Don. He said, "I wish I knew better at the time. I should have just held those L's in those fights and just kept it pushing instead of fighting back." I mean, he's like, "I was a kid. He was freshly 18. Now he's played with so many more people. Been in a lot of different arguments with different players. Like, this is not that bad. I'll take these. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. He's grown up. I mean, he's already top 4. I don't understand how you put.
I had them in top 4. Like when they are. Like when I did like my power rankings, like before the season started, I had 1 Dallas, 2 Optic. No, I had Optic 1. Then I had Thieves 2. Then I had Dallas 3, and then I had FaZe 4.
Interchangeable.
Yeah. I mean, I think that list that you just made is a little faded, but
yeah, a little bit.
But I'm honestly say I'm a little biased with LA Thieves and Optic. I'm honestly say that I love those teams.
You have to put Empire 1, bro. Like, as of now.
Yeah.
Empire FaZe 1 too.
Yeah.
It's just give them that respect.
Yeah.
3, 4. I'd probably put Optic 3 right now.
It was just a little biased in my power ranking. It was a little biased.
Yeah, it's fine. You're allowed to do that. They're biased against them, clearly saying, like, I see people saying that they're not top 6. Like, that's just dumb. Like, that's just dumb. I think that last year leaves a bad taste in people's mouths with these players.
Yeah.
But now we're back to 44 in a way different game. And it's not like, and if anything, you should be looking at it differently. Like, because they had such a bad year last year.
And even last year, they was one round away still.
Yeah, exactly. So
listen, dude, you're fine. Your friends are, for them to say that that's not possible is delusional. It's absolutely possible, and I mean, nobody knows, but I mean, they have a really good shot at being a top 2, top 3 team. I mean, think about what like for them to be top 2, top 3. What do they have to do? They have to get top 3 of champs. Is that possible? Entirely possible. They look great, so we'll see, bro.
All right, thank you.
No problem, brother. Is he back, Ben?
Yeah, Bilk, are you here? I was told
you gotta unmute. If you gotta unmute if you're here, brother.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Bro, I'm so sorry. I'm on mobile, so it's kind of tough, you know?
It's all good. You're here now.
Yeah, so my question was, so which of like the franchises do you think did the best job preparing not only for short-term but long-term success? And do you think it's worth it to plan that far in advance, since the turnover rate for rosters is pretty high in esports?
Yes.
It depends. Go ahead.
Yes, Atlanta and Dallas have clearly approached that way. I think as long as they keep the core of those teams together, like, I don't see why those teams would ever change.
Yep.
And it's definitely worth it. Like, if you can invest in young players that you know are sure things, and you create that, you know, San Antonio Spurs atmosphere where it's a family environment, they're buying into the marketing, they're buying into all the deliverables you need out of them. Now, in the case of those 2 brands, you know, they have either parent orgs or a licensed brand that they're using to leverage growth, but like, you still need to create a new brand. You got to build a whole org, and having that success and winning to build from is super key.
100%. Everything you said, I 100% agree with. I think that they've done the 2 best jobs at it. I think some other teams that didn't get those super stars, also like Ultra, did a good job of it. And they're the only team that kept the roster from year 1 to year 2, and we're seeing them get better from year 1 to year 2. So I think those 3 teams did a really good job. And then the slow transition that, you know, Optic's been working on, you know, it's just Envoy, but you know, they got Dashy back now, so you know, obviously they're trying to get that next heir to the throne, and it's obviously looking like Envoy right now. So you're seeing teams do that right now, and also having sort of those legacy players that are still really good as like a guide and a mentor to them at their best. So
and we should also shout out the Florida Mutineers for making 2 incredible pickups over the last 2 years between Neptune and Big Wake.
Well, yet to be known for Neptune, but yeah.
True.
From what I've seen from Neptune this season, I think I feel pretty confident about putting them in that list.
That's I mean, he hasn't done anything yet, so but we'll see.
But from what I've seen on the map and from talking to other pro players in the scene, like they see him making the right play on the map and him shooting back, and if that's the case,
I just gotta see him on see him on land and
we gotta see him
COD.
on a stage. Yeah, we gotta see them on some sort of stage. He hasn't done.
Well, we can say the same thing about Big Wake. We haven't seen him play on.
No, but he's played in a lot of big matches. He hasn't played on the stage yet. Facts. But he's played in big matches. Neptune
And he's also taken over in big matches, like not just like been there. Like Big Wake is the best player in their team, and he is still really good at this game, bro. We were watching these matches, by the way. We didn't talk about him, and we were just screaming Big Wake, like he's nasty at Call of Duty. That was an incredible pickup, bro. An incredible pickup. I mean, he was so good. Pros thought he was cheating, like whether it was legit or not, it was still a discussion, you know. So, yeah, shout out to them too. Good point, Ben. Other than the Neptune one, gotta wait a little bit. I do think that I mean he will.
All in, baby.
I mean he's gonna be rookie of the year most likely, right? Like he's got a great shot. He's
what are the other rookies?
Him and Fire 40 and Diamond Con, but like he's in the best position, like set up for the most success. Like he's got a great team around him, and he's got that it factor of like the movement and the shot and shit. So. I think he's probably going to be rookie of the year this year, more than likely.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be really tough for the role that.
Up yet?
What'd you say? Oh yeah, some of them.
We haven't had any roster changes yet. I mean, Big Wake didn't get on a pro team until the middle of last year. So.
He also didn't get rookie of the year.
Fair enough.
But they didn't win. But
for that one, but yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, Fire 40 is just like. Their team is just such like a ragtag group of guys that it'll be tough for him, and the role that he plays, he's like a flex. So it'll be hard for him. And then for Diamond Con also, like sub players, they just look flashier, you know, like they're able to do more crazy shit. So I think he's set up in the best spot. Ben just lagged out. Are you guys switched?
No, it should be fixed now. There you go. We're gonna switch now.
Woo, I'm binge-ism. Never ever.
RIP tabs to spend when I tab out of calls.
Well, thank you for the question, Boca.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Any closing thoughts, boys?
No, I think Gersh actually had a question.
Bring him in. Also, shout out Gersh for managing the call-ins for today, and then the last second graphic as well. Good shit, bro.
Gersh is a beast.
Just grinding, bro. My question's actually specifically for Pac-Man. Of course, you guys have expertise about the industry, so feel free to chime in. Now, Pac-Man, this isn't me like directly referencing Rise, of course. I don't know if you can speak on that, but you do have the perspective of an org not really directly involved in COD right now. So when you have a team like Wester out there who's proven to have success, I mean, of course, not winning the last 2 Challengers Cups, but being undisputed top of the elite right now. Very handsome social media manager as well. What's the thought process?
Don't gas yourself too much, brother, but go ahead.
Hey, we got a team over there. All right. But what's the thought process on not, just making that jump to pick him up until like the end of the season before expansion, or financially back them, get that ball.
You're talking about them getting sponsors?
Wait, so you're saying no. He's saying like let's say X org is gonna join the league. Why wouldn't you pick him up beforehand? Well, that's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, first of all, in between there. And secondly, you would be an absolute idiotic manager to do that when there's going to be a bunch of pros that you might be able to fix and put into these teams that are going to make the team overall better. You have no idea what's going to happen in the offseason. You should wait and see what you can do. Like, the Rock have a completely different team.
Yeah.
So you have no idea what you have no idea
contending team too.
Yeah, like why would you ever make a decision like that before you know what's going to happen? You could. That's just a horrible.
You're pigeonholing yourself into a situation where it's like, this could probably be done. Like, all right, so if you're entering the league, what's the worst case scenario? You get 4 solid pro players. Like who did the like? So for example, what do we think is like the worst team out of Roster Mania this year? Like Paris, and I'm picking that team over Wester, right? So, I mean, personally, I would.
I got you.
So, like, why would you make that? That's like a last decision type deal. Like, why would you do that off the rip initially before you see the market and see what you can make work? You're putting a lot of investment into your future, into a team that is just like, it's just a question mark. Like you haven't seen all of them play at a pro level. You don't know, and you could easily run into problems. So on a pros and cons basis, like it's just way too many cons.
My only
way too many
is technically with the current contract structure, you could take a 1-year risk and then just dump your roster and not pick up options.
Why would I ever want to enter into a league with a team where I had no confidence in going in?
You know why?
I'm starting at 13th place. No way.
Because you can always do that, Ben. There will always be a team in Challengers that is the best team every year. There will always be the next up players. There will be another Wester. There will be another this. There will be you know what I mean? So if you can make something work, and this is like me saying when you're coming into the league, I mean, maybe there's some people out there that think differently than me and John, but I mean, we've always been on this side. We've been getting asked these types of questions for a while. I don't think that it is a sound investment, and I don't think we'll see an organization do it. It's just too much building, too much teaching, too many. Like these guys haven't been pro. There's so much more that comes with being like a pro player than just like jumping on and frying. Like, dude, think about the process it took for TJ to learn that he has to do content, has to be on time. Like, there's just so much.
Yeah. But what we could see, Ant, is what Toronto did last year, some version of that, which is let's pick up the Wester guys.
Yeah.
But let's also pick up a bunch of other pros and let's them figure out who the 4 stars are.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. You have options at that point. You have options.
John's shaking his head, but that's what Toronto did last year, and look at how they ended up at the end of last year.
I don't hate it.
It clearly was not. It clearly, as weird of an idea it was to pick up 10 people, it ended up working out for them.
Well, like 3 or 4 of them never even got given a chance. Let's go with that.
That's how it'd be. They're the 8th, 9th, and 10th man on the roster. Like
they weren't the 8th, 9th, and 10th man on the roster. Brack was picked up to be a starter and never even got a chance. So was Metals. I feel like he got a very minimal chance. I remember one day when I was coaching Optic LA, he dropped 50 on us, and the next day he wasn't even playing. Like what? Yeah, he doesn't speak English well enough, or his communication was bad. It's like, all right, cool, whatever.
It's not a bad plan if executed properly, though.
Yeah,
I guess you also have to have a lot of people that are willing to take minimum contracts in the league. So.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened last year with some of the franchise orgs and how they approached challengers. Like, it was weird to me, picked up that 10-man roster, and then they never had an academy team that ever played challengers. I think that maybe hamstrung the chances of some of those players. So I'm not sure mechanically like what happened there, if there was some confusion. But I do think that that's a proven method. If you want to say, hey, let's take a chance on these amateurs with chemistry, but let's hedge and get some veterans on the team. And if we're going through training camp or going through the beginning of the game and it's not working, well, we have an opportunity to shuffle things up and try and find who we're going to start the season with.
I would say just because it happened once does not mean it's proven, by the way. I don't believe that. Like,
I mean, if Gorillas can do something like that this year, it'd be incredible. I mean, they have a big roster. I believe New York, like, there's just more opportunity. We'll see. And Toronto is one example. And there are also some caveats there, but
So let me say one more thing. This guy Coleman in the chat says, if I'm getting paid to sit on the bench, I'm jumping at that opportunity 100% or whatever. Let's take someone like Mayhem. Mayhem was a part of that Toronto Ultra experiment or whatever you want to do. The year before that, he had his best year ever. He's been playing for a while, but the year before that, he had his best year ever. That year on that team killed any chance of him becoming a pro in the near future. Completely, absolutely murdered.
And that sucks too.
And he got paid last year, right? But he had zero chance to ever become a pro. Like it put him so far back. He was never in any officials. He was not in anything. Like he's just a B team scrimming. Like that's not where I'd want to be. Like I guess.
Well,
depends on where you are in your career, but
that's why they changed the rules for challenger eligibility this year to prevent that type of situation happening. So let's say you are riding the bench. Well, you can still play challengers and make a lot of money in elite and showcase yourself on stream and visible to other teams, make yourself available for a trade, or maybe you play well that the current team you're on rotates and you get a shot. Like, I just think that was sort of a weird situation, and they've now changed the rules to try and hopefully prevent that from happening again.
Well, thank you for the question, Gersh. Good luck to you.
I got a quick follow-up if you don't mind. It's just to clarify. I kind of get what you guys are saying, but just to clarify again, are you saying that if an org is out there, right, no COD team to work with, do you think it's a better risk for them to pick up a few veterans that are all like that have lost their teams from the previous season, my bad, than picking up Wester, like who already has that proven chemistry?
Wait, so when you mean org, are you saying like an expansion franchise team?
Yeah.
So like it's a bit more complicated than that, because like you have to think about how the org spins up, right? So like starting at the executive front office, like coach level, like who are they bringing in, right? That's going to determine a lot of your initial decision making, and we've seen that to some levels of success. Obviously, like more of the legacy franchises either had coaching staffs they just carried over from the other team, or they brought someone on that they had previous experience with, and it was easy for them to get adapted. We saw with some of the newer teams that they really struggled last year with the decision making that they made to build a roster, and then they had to rotate it out. So it's kind of tough to answer, but I think the approach is somewhere in the middle of what you're asking here.
Perfect, got you. Appreciate that. All right, guys.
No,
it sounds like okay, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was gonna say it sounds like you're thinking like, will an organization come in and acquire Wester and their staff, and because they have done such a good job? And I can tell you that probably will not happen. Simply because like that is like you're putting so much trust into a team that's simply just winning challengers matches. Like I don't see that happen unless it's like year over year. Wester proves to be the most dominant challengers team from this year, next year, then maybe I see something like that happening. But like after just one sample size of 1 year of success, I would not see that happening, because you don't know the things that attributed to that success. Was it just the players were just dominant, or was it the entire organization and team? And I believe that's what you were asking, right?
Yeah, I think more of it was just the risk reward, kind of what
so
explained, but
that's a long shot, and I don't see that happening or being like super beneficial to some of these orgs. But hey, man, we never know, Gersh. Much love, brother.
Right, appreciate you guys.
All right, well, we just eclipsed the 2-hour mark, so I think it's a good time to conclude. Once again, are there any final things you guys wanted to discuss? No,
I'm just glad to be back. It's a little bit of break, both busy.
Came back with a banger, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben, for coming on today.
No problem. And I appreciate you guys inviting me on. Happy to join future episodes. If not, I'll stick to making sure that people don't ask Shirley questions in the call-ins.
I think if we don't have a guest, we should bring Ben on. We'll see.
We'll see how that. Yeah, we'll see. Who knows?
But
who knows?
Much love, guys. Appreciate everybody tuned in. If you're listening on audio, much love to you guys as well. Make sure you guys go leave a review. Check out XP Sports. We are fueled by them. Great company, makes energy supplements, give you clean energy, and supports eye health. xpsports.com. But as always, guys, social links will be in the description below, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace, guys.
There we go.